Hello, back to Irish Football Fan TV. I'm delighted to be joined by former Republic of Ireland goalkeeper David Forde. He's here. He's brought a copy of his book, Being the One, and he's here in person in studio here in Extanu. So, David, how was your flight over, and how happy are you to be back in Ireland?
Yes, wet and wild on the way over. It was carnage at Gatwick. Trains, planes, automobiles delayed. And look, I love arriving back in Ireland. I love coming to Dublin, Shannon, Cork, and whether I'm in Dublin, heading down to Galway. Yeah, it's just great to be home. I just love coming home, and it just reminds me of what it was like those times coming back for the Irish camps. And I managed to pop up to the team hotel earlier on and pick up a shirt that we've got a charity night back down in Galway on Thursday for Aoife's night. My ex-coach Joe, who's in the book.
Yeah, feel free to plug it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're doing that Thursday night down in Galway. So hopefully we're going to raise some great funds for Aoife, and she's had a tough time. So it was great to come in, pick up the shirt, and arrive here today and all ready to go.
Yeah, well, I suppose we've been looking at doing this for a while, so it's great to actually have you here in person. I'd rather do that than do it kind of online. But yeah, I suppose since you're here, you're kind of being brought back to those times, so no better way to bring it back and talk about them. Talk to me about your early journey in football, like growing up in Galway, and your journey from kind of what were your earliest football memories?
My earliest football memories was probably Euro 88. And I remember Ray scoring and the fever pitch kicking off around that time. And it was like Irish football was coming out of the dark ages. And all of a sudden, Jack Charlton had come in. We're starting to bring different players in from the UK, and the granny rule and all that started to happen. Results started to come in. And then Italy 90 was really the main one, really. And I talk about that in the book, how that inspired me and inspired the nation at the time. The whole country went absolutely mental, and I was maybe 10, 11, 12, something like that at the time. Packy making the save, and that set the dream alive. I was like, I just want to play for Ireland. Give me one cap.
And it was being a goalkeeper then was that where you were kind of thinking, or was it just a footballer?
Yeah, my brother was a goalkeeper, so while he was in the nets playing in goals, and you're always looking up to your brother. And I thought, wow, I'd love to play in goals. And he came back and he had new old sport gloves and a shirt and jersey. And yeah, I just had a love for diving around, whether it was on concrete, whether it was on tarmac, you name it. I was flinging myself about the goals, whether it was in my front room with my brothers and my mates and my friends. And I just loved the whole challenge of playing in goals and trying to be unbeatable and try to stop every ball. Yeah, so it was great times. Absolutely loved it.
Who was your first club? When did you start kind of getting into, I suppose, being a keeper, playing football at a young age, or whoever you played for? Who were your kind of earliest teams?
Newcastle United in Galway were my first team.
Any relation to the Geordies?
No, absolutely not a bit. We had black shirts with amber stripes. And that was our first kit. Then they changed the colours to like purple and silver, which was really, really random a few years later. But yeah, started under 10, playing indoor. And the funny thing is, we're here today, and Michael D is just leaving the Oris. And I played with Daniel and Mihal, his sons, at underage football as well, So starting off with Newcastle United, then where did I go after that? I left Newcastle United. I gave up football for a year. Had a little altercation with the club, and I thought, right, I'm done with football. I'm not playing football anymore.
What age?
I was only maybe 13, 14. And I thought, right, I'm done with football. I'm going to go back, play Gaelic football. Loved Gaelic football as well. One of my other aspirations was to play in Croke Park and play for Galway and in All Ireland. I would have loved that as well. And I played centre midfield in Gaelic football. So I went from there, finished up with Newcastle United, and I started working in a bakery on Saturdays. A full day Saturday, and then after school a couple hours cleaning the bakery and helping out baking and doing all that, and I absolutely loved it. But then towards the end of that year I was like, right, I'm missing football, I need to get back in it. What am I actually going to do? Belvedere up in Fairview, so down the road, they were looking for a goalkeeper. Yeah, exactly, yeah. One of the biggest schoolboy clubs in the country, and one of the biggest in Europe. So a couple of my friends had been up there. Ryan Casey, who's the number 2 with John Russell at Sligo now. He was there the year before. He got a move over to Swansea. And there was a lot of movement and a lot of players getting across to the UK. and Dublin really was that place to be at that time. So I had a choice, right? Do I go up to Dublin? And I thought, right, yeah, let's go for it. So that was under 15. I used to travel up on a Friday, stay the weekend, go back down on a Sunday evening on my own on the train or on the bus, like, which is quite mad because would I let my own kids do that now? I'm not too sure.
I think it's a different world, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a different,
yeah.
different kind of time between now and then. Like, I think back then, at similar ages, like you'd have been let kind of go do what you want, but now there's just you just don't know what's out there in the world really anymore. You know, it's a bit more dangerous these days, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was great. It was a fantastic year. It was actually really difficult.
Was that kind of character building in a sense?
It was really character building, yeah, massively, because I used to think, right, I want to go to England, but yeah, I'm struggling to even do a weekend. I'm struggling to do Friday, Saturday night up in Dublin. Never mind move away and go across the pond, go across the water to the UK. And in that, like my mate Ryan Casey calling, you know, and how homesick he found it. Great players like Tony Folan, phenomenal players, probably one of the biggest talents that I've ever played with and seen. He found it very difficult, and in the end came back from the UK, came back from Crystal Palace and Brentford after having a phenomenal start. Dara Sheridan, he was the best man at my wedding. We're still friends, thankfully. He was at Aston Villa. He's back now. He was doing a lot of work with High Performance New Zealand and High Performance Rugby in Ireland, and he's doing some phenomenal work on that side. Colin Hawkins had gone over to Coventry. So there was a real kind of golden age. Rory Ginty had gone to Crystal Palace as well. So there was a real kind of golden age starting to kind of sprout from Galway at the time. But yet Dublin was, you know, the Irish teams, everything was...
The hotbed was kind of...
Yeah, exactly. Everything was in Dublin. So I thought, right, go to Dublin for the year. Even though it was a great year, I did struggle. I did find that hard. So I knew I wasn't ready to go to England and go to the UK. And the hardest thing was people were saying, you have so much potential, you should be going over, you should be doing this. And I thought, inside, mentally and emotionally, I was just nowhere ready.
How are you performing at Belvedere? Were you performing well despite that? You know, because you're at that age where you're still quite young, that, you know, a lot like kind of maybe we go out the window, but in terms of your performance, probably you're still probably performing.
Spot on. It's a great question. Very inconsistent.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was a world beater one week and a carpet beater the next. You know, and that's a fact. There were some games I was like, right, I was doing really, really well. Saying that now at 45 years of age, I was probably having a shocker every week. But yeah, I did find that difficult. And I remember playing out in Crumlin once, and Robbie was actually playing
For Crumlin,
yeah, and he was the prodigal son at the time. Like, you know, everybody was talking about, you should see this kid, and he's going to do phenomenal things. And I think he did score that day as well. We got beat 1-0 as far as I know, and Jason Gavin I think played that day. So yeah, that was the kind of Dublin experience, and then I decided, right, this is, and I tell the stories about that as well. Like, you know, it was a great time. Tony Burke, Tony Lynch, great football people. Darren Berrigan, who I used to go and stay with, and he's still involved with Belvedere now, and his son's playing, and even Darren was a great talent. So yeah, it was some amazing. It was an amazing experience, to put it that way. And as you said, it was so character building to go from the west of Ireland up into inner city Dublin.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the easiest place to blend in. I can tell you that. I've been here about a year, but I know as well I went away at a young age at 20, I think, to Australia, just after my father passed away, and I knew like how hard that was. But that's like half the world away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas obviously you're saying you're just coming up to a couple of hours maybe on a bus or a train or a drive, whatever way you came up, or and then even at that, England's not that far away as well, but you're not thinking about that. And I suppose back then it wouldn't have been as common to have your WhatsApps and all of these kind of things that you have, the privileges now of the young people have.
Yeah, exactly. I think my mother had the first phone on the street, and all the neighbours used to come in and use it. And then I think she got a couple of bills, and then she decided to put a payphone in. So she didn't actually pay a phone in, and you had to put in the 20p's and make your phone calls and stuff like that. That was the times. There was no sign of a mobile phone, no sign of a connection. Letters. That was about the height of it. There was no FaceTime, none of that. Like, so it was a whole different world. It was a great time. It was a very innocent, a very pure time. but it was a different.
You could get away with a
beast,
lot
like.
more back then because there wasn't camera phones and all of these other
Absolutely.
things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is what they have now. But so where did you go after Belvedere then in terms of your football journey? Where did that kind of lead you after Belvedere?
I returned back home back to Galway. Still in school, still going through I was finished probably my junior cert, going into 5th class, something like that. And I signed for Salthill Devon. So I went to Salthill Devon for a year. That was another type of experience. And then I thought, right, this isn't really for me. It wasn't my kind of, I didn't really fit into the club. That's something I speak about in terms of the dynamics, because in the book, it's not just a football story. You know, it's a story of identity. It's a story of leadership. It's a story of family systems. It's a story of psychology, dynamics. There's so many different layers to the book. So I talk about that in depth, what that meant for me. In other words, it was no reflection of what I was towards anybody else or anywhere I've actually been. It was me just like that, being the one is that double entendre, infinite entendre, being the one to kind of take ownership, being the one to lead, being the one to heal, being the one to love, being the one to forgive. There's so many different elements in that. And that's when I started to look back in my journey, and I found it so cathartic. I found it very catalytic in terms of how I want to move forward with my career and what I wanted to do. So looking back at all those stages and some defining moments in my career as a professional, but also as an amateur and a young boy, and they were key parts in terms of developing my character and my personality and all those different elements. And everybody played a huge part, and every club and every player, every coach, every game had a huge impact on myself. So I end up going up to Galway Hibernians then, and I played there for under 17, under 18. Still had a grow. It just wouldn't let go. It was just something that I want to play in England. I want to play for Ireland.
That was your ambition, so
yeah. And yet I was still playing amateur football. That was still the ambition. That was still the dream. I was still driving hard, and you know, spinning the wheels and going nowhere. There was no traction on that, like, you know. But yet I had the ability. Didn't fully have the mindset. Not until I met someone like Joe Riley and Tommy Lally, and they've been phenomenal coaches for Galway football. They were, I mean to say, I've seen top coaches in the UK, but they were actually up there at that time, and they were doing phenomenal work with the young men at the time in terms of drills, in terms of preparation. Tommy he was at Celtic for years. Joe, you know, he's a massive Forest fan. He'd go over with Leeds, he'd go to all the clubs, watch what they do, watch what they were training. No badges, no nothing, but hands down, probably one of the best underage coaches I've ever witnessed or came across. Just the way he could connect with young men. And he turned around to me one night and he said, you know, what you want to be, what you want to do? And I said, look, told him my dream. And he said, well, let's make that happen. So we used to do our training down in Bohermore, and we barely had floodlights. I swear to God, if you lit a matchstick, you'd probably have more light. And the lights were how would I put it, injected into the Galway shopping centre, and we used to channel some of their light. I don't think it was done legally, but anyhow. And yeah, so it was just baited water, muck, dirt. There wasn't a blade of grass. There was no 4G. We'd train, and then we'd stay back afterwards doing sit-ups, push-ups, stomachs, bit of goalkeeping, and it just became an absolute boot camp. And I started to get my head down and really apply myself. And to be fair to Joe, he turned up and helped me so much at that period and that time. Then Galway United came along, and I played junior football as well. We won a junior league in Galway, won Connacht Cups, all those different things, underage titles, all those.
Is that where the idea of winning an All-Ireland with Galway came from then as well?
No, Galway was going, look, that's going back to the 80s. That's going back to when I was in the Bish, into school, and they came around with Sam Maguire and the McCarthy Cup in 87. And I have a photo with my brother, just two of us holding the Lee McCarthy and the Sam Maguire, and we're just absolutely living our best life. And between playing hurling, and I was that type of lad, I played tiddlywinks. And I often look back at it and go, you know, people say you must have loved football. And it was actually more a love of sport. But even deeper again, it was actually a love of competition. I love the whole competitive nature. You know, I love being involved in competitive situations. And through my whole story, I started to realise that, you know, one of the biggest learnings and the biggest messages and lessons I've got from the book was that when I went into competition, I lost myself. And when I went into competitiveness, I found myself. And that's what the whole journey has ultimately taught me. And from being that young boy in Galway, as you said, whether it was Gaelic football, whether it was hurling, basketball, you name it. And thankfully, I managed to, you know, get to the pinnacles in football. And it was wild, it was wonderful, it was amazing, it was hard, it was so many different elements, so many. It was such a roller coaster.
Well, tell me then, obviously, because you're at Galway United then. So how do you kick on from there, and then get, you know, realise your dream of getting to England then?
Yeah, great question. Don O'Riordan was manager, so Don played for Derby County, Torquay, managed Torquay, and Galway were looking to kind of get promoted from the first division, get into the Premier League.
What year is this, if you don't mind me asking?
This is about 98, 99.
Right,
So
okay.
I'm still playing with Galway Hibernians at that stage. And at that time, I was also, I did my leaving cert twice. And people ask me, you know, how many points I got. I keep telling them I got 545 points. You got 540? They couldn't believe it. I said, yeah, I got 270 the first year, 275 the next year. So technically, I got 545. Yeah. So then afterwards, I was working with my dad on the building sites. I was doing some bar work, and then I was a merchandiser for Coca-Cola and Cadbury's, flying around on my bicycle from Dunstores to Tesco, my little white jacket on, racing in, bags of Coke, chucking them up on the shelves.
It's common enough for a League of Ireland player, to be fair. Like you'd hear a lot of them in the League of Ireland. They're either postmen or they do similar jobs.
Exactly.
Like
I was a postman too. Yeah, always delivered. And we did so many different elements. And then Don came along and he was like, right, we're looking to go full time. There was a goalie in Galway called Mark Colby. He was on trial with many clubs, Hull and Leeds, and a lot of potential. And he did his cruciate. So that opened up the door for myself. And Don was trying to recruit local Galway talent, because everybody that was playing for Galway over a certain number of years, they were coming from all around the country. So Galway City had nothing really to identify with when they were going up watching games. So attendances were down. So Don was clever in that space, that he started getting in the youth from all the different junior clubs, put on mass trials, and then all of a sudden he got promoted from the first division, got into the Premier Division. That's when I came along. Eddie Hickey was there, ex-Limerick, and Eddie was a great keeper. So I was number 2 for that year. Second year was Eddie was having contract troubles, and Don says, I'm in, and I made my debut against Finn Harps in Terryland Park on a cold, wet and wild night. And did we draw or win? I think we won. And that's how it all started. That's how it all began.
How was the debut for you then? If you're thinking about, you know, this is probably professional debut, isn't it?
Yeah, professional debut. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, I was excited. I was nervous. I was anxious. I was petrified.
Everything in between.
Everything in between. You know. So it was. You know, Terryland is an amazing ground. It's probably the coldest place in Ireland. Right beside the
rival that with
Corrib.
Tallaght Stadium on a cold night. It's right by the mountains.
Yeah,
so it's freezing there too.
It comes down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I, as I said, you know, I used to go to Terryland, the old Terryland. No, that was an experience. You know, it was basically just a railings around the pitch and a little cow shed with, you know, you wouldn't be surprised seeing a few bales of hay stuck in it. Like, you know, that was about the height of it till they regenerated it and did it up. And it's been a little mecca since. So making my debut there, that was a big night. And it was a big learner. I remember coming for a cross in the end, and the centre half, not Andy O'Boyle, Andy Boyle. Oh man, I can't think of his name. He'll probably kill me. And absolute Finn Harps legend. And I've come for a cross, and I've come keepers, and he's pulled my hand away, so I've come up like Superman. Yeah, nowhere near the ball, whatever. And that was a massive learner, just in terms of the dark arts that went on in men's football. So I learned a lot that night, yeah.
Yeah, dark arts. I'm a big fan of them. I like to implement them in my football games. I can only
You're
imagine
my
at the
type of
top
man.
level.
You're my type of man.
Well, do what you have to do to win, you know. So it is what it is. But you're kind of going on from then. So you're like you're doing well at Galway at this point. You obviously mentioned you're making your debut. So how far along then before you get recognised to go across to England? And like, how's your form and everything like that? How is it? You know, you mentioned before about the inconsistencies you were kind of facing at Belvedere and stuff like that. So was any of that kind of coming into your mind, or the anxiety or any of that?
Yeah, there was some mad things coming on at Galway United at that time. There was another player called Michael Keane, great midfielder. And there was this agent on to Michael. He says, "Oh, you're a decent midfielder, and that's a decent goalie you have. I can set up a trial for you over in Bolton." And we were like, "Okay." That's when Big Sam and Okocha, Campo, Jaskelainen, that was that real great Bolton team. So I'm there and I'm going, right, what do we do? Obviously the club aren't going to do it. They're not going to let us go over and go on trial and stuff. So we blagged it. We said we needed a few days off or whatever. Went over to Bolton, arrived in Bolton, stayed in the hotel this Sunday night, arrived into the Reebok Stadium at the time on the Monday morning, and all these great players. Campo played for Spain and I'm changing beside him. And I'm probably a little bit chubby and a little bit overweight and stuff, and still in amateur mode.
Jorkaeff there as well?
Jorkaeff was there.
Yeah, he was unreal.
Yeah, because he
World Cup winner.
He just won it in 98.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He rocked in, and we were just going. I was like, "This is absolutely off the Richter scale." And we got the kit on, the Reebok kit, and it felt this is the nuts. Like we're really
levels.
Yeah, going up levels. And next thing we were just about to go out training and stuff, and I don't know, was it the kit man or the secretary came in and was like, "Lads, Galway United found out that your trial's illegal, so you can't actually train, and you got to fly home." So we flew home. I think we got fined 2 weeks' wages, which at the time I was on. We used to call it 50-50, which was 50 basic, 50 punts basic, and 50 appearance, and that was it. And so we got fined 100 quid. And played the following week. So that then started to, right, this is, geez, I'd love a bit more of this. Like this is crack. Then Don, with his Derby links and Jim Smith and all that element, he said, right, I'm going to send you over on trial. And the guru or goalkeeper at the time is, geez, why is my mind gone blank? I've had too many concussions.
At Derby, all I know is Mark Poom was the keeper.
He was Man United. He used to call him the guru goalkeeping. Eric Steele.
I know of him, yeah.
Eric Steele. That's what happens when you've had about 60 concussions. Mine just evades you, but we're back in the game.
That happens to me most mid-conversation.
yeah. Exactly, and no concussion.
Yeah, exactly.
And Eric Steele was there. He was the goalkeeping coach. He later went on to be the goalkeeping coach for Man United. Went over and I trained with them for the week, and I soon realised that I was so far off the pace in terms of body shape, body weight, in terms of flexibility, in terms of pace, power, speed. You know, you name it. Yeah, I was so far off it, and I left afterwards. And like that, the words I used to be haunted my whole life was, "You've got so much potential," and then what always came after that was the three-letter dreaded word, "but." Yeah. And there's a great saying in, what is it, Game of Thrones, when your man says, "Everything before the but's a lie." So I'm there thinking, right, here we go. What am I going to do? Here's a program. Give me a whole program to work on, everything else. And Don was great because there was mornings there, he'd have to get me up out of bed. He'd be beeping outside. I'd look outside and he's waiting to bring me down training to do one-to-one stuff with him as well. Ball striking. He was a phenomenal ball striker. And that's how I got so good at striking the ball. He taught me a lot about technique. So lo and behold, we stay up. It was the last game of the season. No, that was the year before. We stay up the last game of the season, and I got actually jumped. I got assaulted in the middle of Fair Square. Yeah, you can't say bad language on this, can you?
You can say whatever you like.
Yeah, I got the shite kicked out of me. Yeah, so within an inch of my life, managed to recover from that. Galway United went into
Any reason, or was it just a night? It's just something that happened on a night out, sort of.
just something that happened on a night out. A few points, got a shoulder, must have said something smart, and next thing I woke up in the A&E, in the borderline intensive care unit. But anyhow, it's a good story. It's in the book, and so there I am, and it's coming to the end of the season. Galway United go into financial difficulties. We're talking about liquidation, etc., and it was like, right, what am I doing with my career? Like, do I stay in Galway? Still this urge to go to England, go to the UK. And luckily enough, there was a gentleman, or not a gentleman, but one of my teammates, Scott Morgan. His dad was Stuart Morgan, who was Harry Redknapp's chief scout at West Ham and Bournemouth and other different clubs. Stuart was an ex-professional footballer as well. So he used to come over and watch his son playing for Galway United. And he comes over one Friday evening and he's like, all right, that's interesting. That keeper's, he's got something. He's got a bit. Comes to the end of the season, Scott leaves, signs for Barrytown. Yeah?
Yep.
And it's a funny story, actually. Saying that Pat Dolan mightn't be too happy about it, but he met Pat Dolan up in St. Pat's to sign for St. Pat's.
Yeah.
And the Super Saints were flying at the time.
The Michels, yeah. That's right,
And the first thing Pat said to him was, how fast can you run 100 metres? Scott turned around and he said, faster than you.
Anyone who knows Pat Dolan will know that's why that's funny.
Yeah, I'm sure Pat will see the funny side of it. Then again, he mightn't. But look, it's a bit of crack, isn't it, at the end of the day? And
I don't think he'll come here for it, but all good.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He's a good guy. So anyhow, Scott signs for Barrytown. They're looking for a goalkeeper. They're managed by Peter Nicholas, Chelsea legend, Arsenal legend, Wales captain, phenomenal player. Kenny Brown was the assistant. He was at West Ham, played for West Ham, Norwich, great career. Jamie Morley, who's like super agent now. He's ex-Millwall. So there was a great calibre of player in the League of Wales, and they were the top.
I've heard of Barrytown.
Yeah, they were like the Shamrock Rovers of the League of Wales, basically.
Yeah. I think TNS have taken them over in a sense lately.
Yes, exactly. That's it. They went bust. So they were looking for a goalie. They were in the Champions League qualifiers, and Peter Nicholas turned around to Stuart Morgan and said, Stuart, have you seen any good goalies? And he said, look, if I was you, I get the young lad in the west of Ireland. He's playing for Galway United. I think he's out of contract. Go and sign him. Next thing, how the event actually happened and how it comes about is, these are the things that happened in my life. Is, I mean to say, 1 minute I'm going in through one door, and like that, I'm in a whole different space. Yeah.
Yeah, you entered in the black hole.
Yeah, it's like divine intervention, I'm telling you. So I go to meet Galway United. I sit down with the chairman, Donna Reardon. They have me sitting up in the stool, like that, spotlight's on me. And I'm sitting in the stool. They're sitting on Eamon Nocton was there, League of Ireland. He used to look after the League of Ireland and stuff. John Byrne, the chairman, Eddie Gray. He's passed since, God bless him. And Don, the manager. So I'm only young. I'm only like 20, 21 at this stage. And it was quite daunting. It was quite intimidating. They said, right, we want to offer you a new contract. I thought, geez, I'm on a worldie here. I might get 200 quid a week, 250, 300 quid a week. I could do this full time. I'm laughing, 200 punts. Buzzing, lads. Come on. Walked in and they turned around. We're going to offer you the same contract, 50-50. I felt like they just ripped me stomach out. I couldn't believe it.
And you couldn't fight it or be like, did you have anyone fight in your corner to negotiate?
No, I was in there myself. Didn't know about an agent, didn't know about anything else. Sort out your own contracts. And I sat there and I was going, oh my God, that's gut-wrenching. That's devastating. And I was thinking about it. But what nailed it for me was what they said next. They turned around and they said, do you know what? You can have 50-50 a week and you can stay stacking shelves. And in my mind, I'm going, I'm not here to stack shelves. Yeah? And I got up and I just walked out the door. And it was one of those, UPVC doors, modern doors.
Yeah.
And it's got the handles and you have to pull up the handle and stuff. So I was trying to come out and I slammed the door. And I kept opening and I kept pulling it and trying to put it on the own and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing?
After trying to leave, making an impact.
Exactly, yeah, trying to make this big leave, like slam the door and pull the door out and walk out, like, you know, I'm here trying to fiddle around, couldn't even get the door right. So I'm stood outside the door, and then it dawned on me, I was like, shit, I've absolutely got nothing here. I was in GMIT, NUI, or not NUI,
It's like a
Galway.
college,
Yeah, it was called the RTC at the time. And I was doing industrial engineering. And the only reason I did industrial engineering is because it was 275 points. It was probably the lowest. And I hadn't even done technical drawing, didn't have a clue what the whole course was about. I was just there for the year. Yeah. And I was like, right, I'm in a spot of bother here. Like, what do I do? So I stood outside and I was half thinking, will I just go back in and accept it, like tail between my legs and go, yeah, I'll take the 50-50.
And the shelf stacking.
And the shelf stacking, yeah. And do you know what? I loved that. I actually loved it. It was
I
crack.
didn't.
Did you not?
No, not at all. I got moved to the tills.
Yeah. Chilling on the tills, like, whole different world.
I actually became supervisor, so I was actually able to kind of move people around. So it actually
did
worked
you?
out
You
a bit
became
better.
boss man, like.
Now, but I was still jumping on, but
Yeah.
I kind of.
Where was that? What supermarket?
Tesco, Dundrum. One of the biggest ones, yeah. I don't know how they let me be in charge, but there you
Tesco,
go.
if you're listening to this, you need to sponsor this.
There you go. Now.
There you go.
They
lads.
clip that.
Get your finger out. Yeah, exactly. You're in. Presented to Tesco. So I am
Yeah, you were saying
thinking about going back in. And next thing, I checked my pockets, and I had about 100 quid. Like, now 100 quid back then, you'd have a great 3 nights out and that, like.
Absolutely.
20 quid a night, you'd be like living like a king. You'd even get a taxi home in a snack box, laughing. Yeah.
And still have change.
Still have change. So I went on a bender. 3-day bender. I thought, right, last 100 quid, I may as well go out in fashion here, go out in style. So I went on a 3-day bender, and I woke up 3 days later, and I sat on the edge of my bed, and my brother used to always go on to me, sort your life out, get your shit together. At the time I was like, piss off, you prick. But he was dead right. Doing what the big brother thing should do, and, you know, it definitely had an impact. So I sat on the end of my bed, and I'm like, hands in my head, spinning, going, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, where do I go from here? What do I do?
Lost, basically, yeah.
Yeah. And then I go up and I look outside the window, and I can see what can only be described like something out of a movie. I won't spoil it. Yeah. Next thing, I say to myself, I went, Jesus, please God, I said, give me one time, give me something here, give a man a bone, like, you know, I need some help, I need something. Next thing, my phone rings. Hands down, phone rang. I pick it up, UK number. David, Stuart Morgan here. How are you? And I was like, not too great, Stuart. I've just been on the lash for 3 days. He said, you want to come to Barrytown? And next thing, all my fears I fairly sobered up, and all my fears started to play out right in front of me. I was going, geez, I went to Belvedere, struggled with that. I have to go across to Wales now. Oh my God, what's about my mum and dad? How are they going to be? What about my family? What about my friends? My life here? But yet there was this burning desire to play professional football and everything else. And thankfully that won out. And I went, yeah, I'm in, I'm game. Next thing, day or two later, I was on a plane, Ryanair flight into Cardiff, landed, signed, £350 sterling, won the lotto. I was in the big time. Yeah, sterling. Yeah. So I'm there and I sign and start the season doing great with first, second, third, something like that. And I'm coming up to Christmas and I'm having a bit of a tough time. So I'm like, right, I don't know, will I move back home? Not really enjoying this, etc., etc. Comes to Christmas, we're live on Sky. There's a whole layer to this story, but basically, short back pass from my centre half. Two of us get into a pushing argument, and I chin me centre half, and I got sent off. I got banned for 8 games.
Your own?
My own centre half. Yeah. Next thing
on Sky.
It was on BBC.
Oh,
It's going to be on.
FA Cup,
It's going to be on. It's going to be on what you call it one of the days. Question of Sport. What happens next? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was haunted for years watching that show. I was thinking, what happens next? It's going to be me swinging.
I just, when I think of that, I think Duncan Ferguson when he did the elbow for, was it Rangers at the time?
Yeah.
Or Dundee?
Yeah.
I think it was before he went to Everton, but he
Yeah.
done the elbow. So I don't think you were before that time. I think you would have been after that time.
Yeah, it was. Look, it wasn't right anyhow. Put it that way, but these things happen. So yeah, then I was. How I speak about that in the book is where I was mentally and emotionally leading up to that space, how I felt in that whole space, who was there to support me, who wasn't there to support, what that even looked like, where am I going to go, what am I going to do, questions that every young man or young woman that's there that's like, right, what am I doing with my life, where am I going? So the whole story is about understanding a sense of meaning and purpose that gives direction, and I was looking for that type of direction, and I was like, right, I'm done. I'm back to Ireland. I'm going to play Gaelic football for Galway. I'm done with it. The amount of times I did that in my whole career, that I'm done. I'm heading back. And 5 days later, I signed for West Ham.
And I'm not going to ask you about the centre, the altercation, because I know it's in the book, so I want people to read about it in the book. Yep. I've heard some stories about it anyway. But you're kind of...
all good at home.
Yeah, no, but under the cosh, you always did a podcast on.
Yeah. You
kind of went into it a little bit there. But so how does it go from that? Because obviously that's a kind of public incident. How does it go from there to signing for West Ham? Like, what did they see out of that kind of, like, because you wouldn't be thinking of it, you know, if you're thinking rationally, you're going, this fella's a bit of a head case, no offence, but if that's what you'd be thinking.
Yeah, exactly. I was playing really well. I was doing really well, and there was a lot of clubs watching me. And the funny thing is, the clubs that were watching me was West Ham, Millwall, Portsmouth, I think Coventry, QPR, and Stoke. They were the clubs that were there. And the funny thing is, I went to each one of them at some stage in my career. Yeah. And when that happened, I walked into the changing room afterwards, and Jamie Marley went, well, you've just fucked that, haven't you? Yeah, he said, all I heard was the scouts' chairs flapping as you did that. And I was just like going, Jesus, oh my God, as if I'm feeling bad enough, like talk about twisting the knife.
Yeah, that gut feeling.
Yeah. So I came in afterwards, manager pulled me in on the Monday morning. The doctor was amazing. The doctor was actually proper checking out my mental health. Like, she thought suicidal tendencies and stuff. She was proper on me at the time. Like, you know, it was sounds all good and it sounds all romantic now, but back then it was pretty hardcore. It was pretty dark, like. And I come in on the Monday morning. Manager calls me up to the office, and he gives me the riot act. Never seen anything like it in my how many years of football. I was even talking to my dad. He never seen anything like it. Fair enough, hitting a teammate or hitting an opposition, but never a teammate, like, you know. And I was like, right, fair enough, take me medicine, take me pill. And he was like, I'm fine you 2 weeks' wages and da-da-da-da-da, and et cetera, how it's affecting the team. In my mind, I was just like, I'm done, I'm going home anyhow.
Checked out, yeah.
Yeah, you can. Emotionally, mentally, I'd actually left the building. I can't even remember fully what he was actually saying. I just remember him losing his mind. And as soon as I said, yeah, that's grand, you can have me wages, you can have whatever else, I'm back to Ireland, see you later on. And he did an absolute handbrake turn. Whoa, where are you going? What are you doing? What's happening? I said, look, I can't do this anymore. It's too hard for me. I need to return back to Galway. I'm not made out, I'm not cut out for this. So he says, wait a second, I have a phone call to make. So he picks up the phone, rings down to West Ham, and he said, that goalie you were been looking at, David Forde, and they were like, yeah. Look, he's got some time off. He can come down if you want to have a look at him. And they were like, why has he got some time off? And he was like, look, it's just we need a few quid, like, you know. And he started blagging this whole thing about, didn't say nothing about the sounding off. And they were saying, yeah, right, bring him down. So Kenny went, pack a bag. So we lived in 39 Cardiff Avenue, which is basically probably one of the first Big Brother houses in the whole of the UK. Every footballer from all around the world must have come and stayed there at some stage. It was just a free house. I think lads off the street used to just come in and stay there. And my mate came over, Derry City, and he said even the rats had to wear overcoats. Oh, this place was rough, like, you know. And so he goes, go down and pack a bag. we're heading to London, and I thought, right, before I go back, I may as well see what West Ham is like. That was on the Monday. Was it the Sunday or Monday? Either, it doesn't really matter. Next thing, I was down the M4. Stayed overnight, trained the next morning, trained 2 days, 3 days. Got called into the manager's office, and he said, we want to give you a contract.
Who's the manager?
Glenn Roeder.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that would have been around, what, 2000-ish?
2001.
Yeah.
He
Was he doing well then?
2001, 2004.
Was he was manager when they got to the cup final? Gerrard scored the goal, I think, wasn't he?
Was that? I don't know if it was I think that was Pardew.
Oh, okay. Well, it was in and around. They weren't far apart, I don't think.
Glenn got them to finish 7th at the time, which was
it was just
the best
decent,
of the rest.
Yeah.
Which is like top 6 was Europe, and
seemed like a decent guy. He had a bit of a health scare a few years later.
Yeah, he's passed away since.
Oh, he has. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. God bless him. Yeah, he was an amazing coach, lovely man.
Came across very well.
Yeah, he had we were in the changing room and he had brain hemorrhage in the middle of the changing room. Jesus. So there was carnage, tough time, but he signed me. Yeah, and then I went from being there like League of Wales to the Premier League in a matter of days.
But you're
trying to get your head around that. Like.
So I am actually trying to get my head around that now, because you're saying, like, you're at your lowest point probably over in the UK, and then all you ever wanted as a young lad, aspiration was to go to a Premier League club or to England to try have a chance.
Yeah.
You've done this. So how does that transition in your mind go? Are you still the same, or have you gone, like, I'm here now finally? Or where does the transition psychologically happen for you? Or was there a transition?
Looking at it in terms of, there was many kind of transitions in that space, but it was about, for me at the time, that there's ignorance in awareness and ignorance in unawareness, and I was definitely unaware, and I was quite ignorant I was just going along with what was what at the time. I wasn't really fully aware of the magnitude and the space that I was actually in and what was actually happening and the opportunity that I had. Yet I felt so amateur in terms of my body shape. Like, I'm still, in terms of my BMI and my body weight and fat weight and all those different elements, still miles off it in terms of where these are. And next time I'm in the changing room and David James is sat beside me and he's an Armani model. Yeah. And how small that makes you feel as an athlete and as a man even, and then next thing you're in just in a whole elite environment, and you're coming from from amateur backgrounds coming to absolute elite professionalism. So trying to get my head around that, and at the time there was no sites of psychology or well-being or support. It was just use your own tools and what you got, and saying that, you did have your coaches and you did have those things, but no one's really experienced that type of transition and that type of change, because you start to look at it, and that's why I started to become so fascinated in the mind, where my mind used to lead me to, in terms of the good, the bad and the ugly. So I'm there and I'm looking at, right, the sense of loss, the sense of change, that was massive. How chaotic it was, the disorder that was in that, and then you're trying to build new relationships, leaving old relationships, waiting for that kind of merging order to come out of it. Where do I stand? Who am I friends with? New friends. So there was, it's fully loaded, and at that time when you're 21 years of age, you're trying to make sense of it all. And you see young men today, they're going through that whole process in English League. And I'm sure if you probably have a notebook with, you could probably name 100, if not 1,000 players that have gone through a change and transition and fell out with the system. Because the one thing that was absent in the whole thing was unconditional support, and how that's actually supported from the right place. So that's when I started to look at, right, I love football, I love sport, I love all those different elements in it, but I'm so fascinated by the mind, I'm so fascinated by the performance. That's then when that started to kick in, and I really started to, because I was always a very sensitive young man, I was always questioning. I was always very curious. I was never satisfied with many answers I actually got. So then when I was going through that whole place of isolation and loneliness and being in an apartment on me all up, crying on the phone down to my brother, staring at the four walls, the internet had just come out. And, you know, it was back in the day where you dial in and it'd go beep.
I remember having to do that for my dad.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy. And they were all talking about this internet and pretty much like we're coming into now with the AI era. That was 20 years ago. Now we're going to have the AI for the next 20 years. And I remember thinking, right, got my first email and got my first website going. And I started searching things. I started searching up, you know, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Vedic science, the Vedanta, Japan, all that kind of stuff, just as a way to, as a healthy distraction from just being in my own mind of the boredom and the isolation. So I started studying unknowingly all the way back then and looking at different cultures, different ways of how they live life and what life was all about for them. And I didn't really understand it at the time. But then it all started to make sense in years later. So going through that whole process, it was definitely like an initiation into something. At the time, I didn't really realise it. It was one for obviously my football career to character build me as a footballer. But now, as an ex-footballer, now what I do now with Pathfinder Coaching and Development and my own company and the work I do with people, yeah, it showed me that wasn't, everything's useful. Everything has a purpose. It's just the key is to actually figure out, well, what actually is that useful for? How can I gain from that? So in that sense, it was invaluable. It was absolutely gold dust. And then experiencing, you know, some of the most eccentric players in the world, and Paolo Di Canio was one of them at the time.
What was he like then? I hear of him as a manager, but what was he like as a player?
He was phenomenal. The things that he could do. The first story I'm telling it is I walk into the barn at the time, and it was proper, like it was like a carpet Astro, old Astro, like, you know, carpet burns. Massive, probably 40 foot wide by maybe 60 long. And the top end was a gym. Trevor Sinclair was in there doing weights, getting ready to go to the World Cup, and get chatting to him. And his mother's from Sligo, loves Ireland, loves Luke Kelly.
Loves Celtic.
Loves Celtic, yeah. And we struck up a great little friendship at that time, even though I was a fair few years younger than him. But loved Ireland. And he was there doing his weights. He was like, I want to get into the World Cup squad. He gets into the World Cup, and I think he was the English player of the tournament back then. That was the one with Seaman. Yeah, Seaman got done by Ronaldinho.
It's a good team.
Yeah, it was a good team, yeah. So next thing I hear this, dum, bum, bum, dum, bum, bum. So I come in around the curtain, and it's the Canio, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody, the whole ground it was probably Trevor and Paolo, and everybody else had probably gone home. Maybe the kit man and the tea lady. So I look around the corner and I see Paolo doing some keep-ups. He gets his right foot, he volleys it off the far wall, comes back, lands on his chest, pops it up first time, left foot volley off the far wall, comes back, bop off, and I swear to God, he didn't drop the ball for about 5 minutes. It's probably one of the best things I have ever seen done with a football. I just sat there like that going, oh my God, this is amazing. And yeah, he was a phenomenal footballer. Amazing.
That reminds me, did you ever see that video of Ronaldinho where he hits the bar like 3 times in a row and it comes back to his chest?
Back to his chest.
It just reminded me
is
of that.
Is that CGI though, or was that real?
I don't know. I think there's an element of trick photography in that for sure.
There was no CGI back then.
Yeah, well, you were witnessing it firsthand. But what was he like as a person? Because I'm thinking back then they would have had, was Canute there as well when you were there?
Freddie Canute was there.
A great player.
Oh man.
Joe Cole.
Joe Cole was there.
Carrick.
Michael Carrick.
Yeah, it's just some serious
David
players.
James.
Yeah, David James.
Thomas Repka.
His centre back as well.
Sebastian
Was there some centre back?
Nigel Winterburn.
He was a great player.
Christian Daly.
He played for Scotland, didn't he?
Yeah. Christian Daly.
He was a good player. He was important for Scotland actually as well.
Yeah, big player.
Don Hutchinson.
Don was there.
Yeah, Everton legend.
Don. What a guy.
Stephen
Bywater.
I heard he's a character, all right.
Oh man, yeah, we used to have some crack. But like so
Sean
Byrne.
Yeah.
The Irish under-17 winning captain
Yeah.
when they won up in Scotland. Do you remember they won the
Yeah.
Euros?
I'm just trying to think, but what were these characters like with you? Because you're a young lad coming through. I said it like you're 21, but you're still a young lad, like at this stage. So what these Canutes, the Canyos more so. Obviously, you said Sinclair's quite good at because I still see him now on Twitter all the time. He's always posting about like Guinness and Ireland and come on Celtic and Sláinte. Yeah, all the time, all the time. So I'm just wondering what they were like. Well, what was did Canio interact with you at all?
Yeah, look, you'd have the bit of fun. You'd have the bit of fun in the change room, and then it's a big squad, it's a large squad, and then you've got your own lads around your own age. So one of the first that really made me feel kind of really welcome was Grant McCann. So Grant played for Northern Ireland, and he's been manager at Doncaster, Peterborough since. And I remember him inviting me around for one of his spaghetti bologneses. Like he said, it was unbelievable, but yeah, the jury's still out. But look, I take it. It was great. And then I used to knock around with the likes of Michael Carrick and Joe Cole, Richard Garcia and Sean Byrne. That was kind of our core kind of quartet at the time, and nights out and partying, because the lads were married, and in a team you have the senior lads and the married lads, and then you have the lads that are playing and applying themselves. They got a game at the weekend, and then you have there was one player called Hayden Fox, played for Portsmouth, red hair, Australia, and he wasn't so much involved. So
was he a wide player?
He was a centre half.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, and he
I
used to love,
definitely know the name.
Yeah, he used to love a little night out and stuff like that. Like, so he'd hook us in as young lads, and we used to go to a place called Faces, Time and Envy. Faces on a Thursday night. Used to be pound a drink, vodka Red Bull. We just have a full table of it and just have absolutely
young lads living life.
Young lads living life, yeah. So it was having plenty of money and not really knowing what position I was within the club. Was I third choice, fourth choice? I'm here to train. I'm here to develop. Where actually am I? And then battling with my own self-doubt with that as well. Like, am I even good enough to be here? Like, I knew myself I was miles off it.
But just because you're talking about, Michael Carrick and Joe Cole, obviously, they went on to have super, super careers, like some of the best Premier League players of all time, you would say.
Yeah, true.
Carrick's very underrated, in my opinion.
Seriously.
Joe Cole.
Carrick's unreal.
Yeah, the two of them. I think Joe Cole as well. He won the Premiership for Chelsea, that goal against United at that time. And he was just a super player in general.
Yeah.
But like when you're looking at them, you're hanging around with these guys and stuff like that. Did you know that they were going to kick on, and where he's kind of? Is that something you've maybe discussed between yourselves?
Yeah, because a lot of the lads had just come from the FA Youth Cup winning side.
Yeah,
West
very
Ham.
good side, yeah.
And the whole tradition that West Ham had is the academy and bringing you through and stuff. That was still very strong.
Well, they probably would have just got rid of Rio at that stage, wouldn't they?
He just left.
So they had a real.
Rio and Frank had just left.
That's right, yeah.
They had just gone. Yeah, Frank Lampard had just
Matt
left.
Holland as well was part of the underage crew before you.
I never knew that.
Yeah, before when. Do you remember when Harry did the kind of talk about Frank? One of the players who he was leaving out at the time was Matt Holland, who then left. So
that's what it was. Yeah. I thought you were talking about the time when Harry got the ball in the head.
No, I think that was.
Did you ever see that one?
Yeah, on the sideline.
And
on the side of the pitch, the training pitch. Yeah.
And he's like, no wonder you're in the fucking reserves.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, very funny.
It's quality.
He's gassed, to be fair.
Yeah, an absolute character. Yeah.
But no, so I was just saying on the kind of they're probably on the periphery, or if not playing, week in, week out, and they're not far off, because I know Carrick moves to Spurs and Joe Cole moves to Chelsea and stuff like that. So where are you kind of fitting into that? Because like if they're in the team, how are you fitting in? And you're hardly going to get in ahead of David James at that time, I think he's next in line after Seaman to be the number one in England, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Played for Liverpool, phenomenal ability as a goalkeeper, phenomenal goalkeeper. And I just felt right. I'm nowhere near this. I'm no chance. And the funny thing was, when I look back at it now, as you asked me that question, was I was always a little bit older than those lads as well. But yet, because of where I was in terms of my ability to perform, I felt like younger or even less than that, where their level was actually at, even though I was older in physicality. And it was very similar to when I got in with Ireland, because I got into Ireland when I was 31. And I felt like a little young lad that had just rocked into his
Total
first
new
day of
environment,
kindergarten. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I had that a few times in my career, and at the time, Michael was, there was big things promised. He went on to Spurs after that. Joe moved on just after that when the relegation came in. They finished 7th, as I said, the year before. The following year, they got relegated. I think they got relegated with 48 points in the Premier League. I think it's the highest one ever.
They had a very good team.
And it was probably the best Premier League team to ever get relegated. So a lot of players got sold on, a lot of players left. And for me, they always had that sense of, right, there's definitely greater things actually happening. And to be honest, I was still kind of in amateur mindset. There was a great part of that growing up in amateur football, semi-pro football, working on building sites and doing all that was great. But yet, in terms of how I was developing as an elite athlete or performance, there was huge parts of that, of my development that was lacking. And you could really kind of witness that in terms of my strength, in terms of my conditioning, all those different elements.
And if you're looking at that, are you at that stage thinking like the old kind of Irish and sure, it'll be grand? Is that kind of how you're living life? Is you're just kind of young and trying to just get by at that stage?
Yeah, just trying to make the most of it. Just trying to improve every day. And back then, sports science wasn't necessarily a big thing then. It wasn't really till I think it was Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson came in and sports science started to become really, really big.
Sam Allardyce actually was big on it too.
Yes, that's true. He
was big on it as well.
Service there, yeah, exactly, yeah.
At Bolton,
yeah, exactly, yeah. So I didn't really fully understand the whole sense of nutrition, strength, weights, all those different elements. And then when I tried to get doing it, I found it very difficult because I was trying to play catch up, and then I do a weight session. Next day I'd be so sore, and I'm trying to be diving around, and I'm trying to work on my technique and the tactical aspect of things, and I had to change my whole style of goalkeeping also because my technique at the time wasn't good enough to be in that type of environment that would sustain a long career. And like, for instance, there you can see that scar down there. I used to be always landing on my elbows, and I had to get the bursa removed. I had bursitis in this elbow. That I had them in both elbows.
Stuff people don't see.
People don't see. Like,
don't see it at all.
Hips were out like that. Yeah. And huge swelling, huge bruising, so many different elements. You talk about ballerinas and their toes and their feet. You talk about goalkeepers, and back then there was no padding, there was very little protection, and you're trying to train every day, and you could be having 500, 600, 700 shots, and you're just standing goals, flying around the goals.
Yeah, and just diving around, and then in the long term that'll obviously have effects on your body as well.
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
I say because only goalkeepers probably take note of that. And obviously there's been science and data since of kind of how much you probably should be diving and how much you shouldn't, and all of those types of things. As you say, sports science comes into it at a later stage. But on the kind of at the period then, so you leave West Ham. How does that happen? And then coming home again and all that sort of stuff. So
Glenn gets sacked. Alan Pardew comes in.
Is he as much of a knob as he seems?
It depends how much you define knob.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a nice fella.
Well, put it this way, he's chocolate.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he'd eat himself. And, the funny thing is, we get to the player. Do you remember Crystal Palace were bottom of the league with Dowie and all that, and they made an unbelievable run to get to the playoff final? AJ, Andy Johnson, yeah. And so it's West Ham, Crystal Palace, Wembley's getting redeveloped, so they're down at Cardiff.
It's a playoff final, isn't it?
Playoff final, yeah. So they call together everyone. All the players come in who's travelling, go get your suits fitted, everything else. And there was 2 players up on the... He brought everyone, bar 2 players. Excuse me. He's brought 2 players, everybody bar Elliot Ward and myself. And I thought, all right, the writing's on the wall here. So trying to get back to the Premier League. Stephen Whitewater's
So
in goals.
just before that, were you playing at all this season?
No,
No,
I was
okay,
on.
so
I was
you
on
were
the
just-
bench. I was on
just
the
a
bench
reserve.
5 times towards the end of that season, and Pavel Cernicek was there for a little spell
Yeah,
as
he was
well.
a good player, yeah.
Yeah, and he's passed on as well. It's mad. So
You were just
comes to
saying
the player
about
final. I'm
being
not
left
going.
out.
Yeah, being left out, and I turned around to the manager and I said, I just met Alison at the time as well, back in Galway.
The wife now.
That's the wife now, yeah. Yeah, that's the other half, the better half. And it was Michaela's christening, her daughter's christening back in Galway. And I was like, right, I really want to go home for that. So I said, right, I'm going back to Galway if I'm not going to be down in Cardiff. And he said something that just, at the time, you know, when someone says something to you, you go, oh man, you've just kiboshed it, like you've killed it. He said, be back on Tuesday for the parade. And I just went, he actually firmly believes they've this locked up. And it was just the way he said it, and I just went, oh, this isn't good. And I remember sat there at the communion afterwards, watching it on TV, biting my nails. But he did say, you know, that if we get promoted, there's a new contract. But if not, we won't be able to have another third choice keeper on the bench or whatever else, and you'll be surplus to requirements. Enjoy your weekend. So I'm watching the game like, oh my God, what's actually happening? Next thing, Stephen makes the save and pops out and chipperly taps it in, like, you know. And that was the end of that. Then came back, packed my bag, had a little Ford Puma at the time. Packed the black bag, went into me pigeonholes and cubbyholes, boots, gloves, packed it in my bag, and headed for Holyhead. And I had a few managers in between ringing me, asking me that I want to stay in the UK, and I was like, done with football.
You're at that stage, you're done. I don't want to go too much into kind of the story of kind of getting back playing. I know there's really good stories in the book, so I'll leave that for people to find out about. But talk to me how you get back playing then, because you're going to go through a little bit of a period where you're at the point where you're kind of done with football, you don't really know what's happening, and then next minute Stephen Kenny calls you up, and where does it go from there?
Yeah, well, I did know what was happening. I decided that I'm going to go back to NUIG as a mature student, doing arts and doing geography, history, psychology, and politics and philosophy, I think, at the time. So that was grand. I was going to become a school teacher, and I'm going to go back playing Gaelic football for Galway, winning All Ireland, and everything's looking rosy. Me and Ali were engaged. Everything else, done with football, gone, totally disheartened, disillusioned. And next thing, I get a phone call out of the blue, Stephen Kenny, and he's like, David, I'm looking for a goalkeeper. There's 10 games left of the season. Do you fancy coming up and just helping us out and stuff? And I was like, nah, no interest. Next thing, a few hours later, I get a phone call again, Stephen Kenny, and I was like, Ali, this guy keeps ringing me. I have no interest. Don't want to be on. She goes, just speak to him and see what he says, like, you know. He goes, David, I'm at the Maldron Hotel in Oramore. You live in Oramore, don't you? You said earlier on the phone. I said, yeah. He said, I jumped in the car and came down. I thought, joke me, 190 miles or whatever down to Galway, which would have took about 6 hours, 7 hours back then. So a few hours later, he's in the car, and I said, right, out of courtesy, I'll go up and chat to him. And he started to speak to me about football. I started speaking what they want to do with Derry. I knew how successful he's been at, you know, his previous clubs, and I thought, right, this is interesting. And what he said to me was, look, I know you're engaged. I know you're doing your masters, or you're doing your arts degree and everything else.
And you were doing the post at that stage, weren't you, as well?
Exactly.
Yeah.
As a postman as well.
As your
at that
job,
stage.
like,
yeah. But he said, just come up, play on Friday. There's 10 games left. Train down in Galway with Joe Riley and Tommy Lally, and just come up on Thursday, stay overnight, play Friday. Happy days. And I thought, all right. So I used to jump in my car, stick on a few tunes, weave my way up to Derry, up past Sligo, Bundoran, up over the mountains, and it was amazing listening to music, because it really allowed, that momentum really allowed me to process and digest the whole experience that I've been through over the last 4 or 5 years, going from there to there and back again. So played then, and then they were going full time, and he was like, right, do you want to come full time and stuff? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then that's when we finished. We won the League Cup. We lost the league to Cork on goal difference last game of the season, I think it was. Following year, we lost the league on goal difference to Shelbourne. Won the FAI Cup, won the League Cup, and we got to almost qualified for the group stages of the Euro. So it was a great time at Derry. It was one of the sweetest
who
times
did you
of my
play
career.
in Europe again? You got some good results.
Gretna, we beat Gretna.
Yeah,
We hammered them because they were giving it big licks.
Yeah, the
And
Scottish side, aren't they?
Yeah, and then we beat Gothenburg. We beat
That's the
Gothenburg
one,
first.
Swedish too,
Alex Anderson.
Yeah, Nicholas Alessanders used to play for Everton.
Everton,
Yeah.
Sweden captain and all that. He was playing.
He played for Coventry as well.
Yeah.
Played in World Cups.
Yeah. We beat them home and away. That was huge.
Did you play in the PSG? Was it the PSG
Yeah,
game?
yeah.
Did you play the Barcelona game?
No, I
Where
was gone.
Ronaldinho came.
I was gone. I missed that one.
That looked unreal.
I
Did
missed
you ever
that
see the
one.
photos of them?
Jim
Yeah.
Roddy and all that got them up there, like, because I would have been good friends with Eddie McCallion and a few of the lads back then, like, and they were whacking over the photos and stuff, like.
Yeah,
I
well,
was
Ronaldinho
thinking,
and the likes and the Brandywell. Like.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, walking over the dog track, he must have been thinking,
mad, like.
what's going on here? And the hill and the slope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
still
know,
it didn't slow him down though.
Did you like Derry? I always think the people from up there are just amazing people.
I love Derry.
Just so welcoming.
I love Derry. Derry's an amazing city. I love the people of Derry. They're passionate about football. They love Derry City Football Club. And when that club gets going, it's electric up there. It's an amazing place, and they do love their sport.
I think that's what
I'm very fond of Derry.
I think they're at a stage now where they want to get into winning leagues consistently at the moment. You know, that's kind of what they're lacking. I mean, they have a good side, but when it comes to kind of the crunch time towards the end of the year, they just seem to be lacking. Yeah. I do believe that if something turns for them, it could be interesting to see how things turn up there. But you know, obviously you've experienced it, you've been there,
they
you've
had
lived
a
it.
horrific start to the season. The new manager and all that.
Yeah,
Rory did a great job. I played with Rory. He did a great job, set that foundation, and they're moving in the right direction. I think.
Couple of players.
If the season went for another 4 or 5 games, you know, Rovers might have been in a bit of bother, you know.
I just think Rovers are too strong at the moment.
Yeah.
I think next year it'll be more of a competitive league. I think Shells will be stronger as well.
Will they? Yeah.
With Joey O'Brien, I think there's a lot of players on longer contracts, so there's that bit more consistency.
Yes.
Some more time to work on things. You know, obviously when Duffer left earlier in the season, it kind of left a little bit of a lull, and then he's done well to get over that and just get them playing and doing well and that. But I do think back on Derry, like you'd have been playing in a team with the likes of James McLean playing. And what a career he went on to have then as well. He was your future Ireland teammate then, was he?
Yeah, James did. James had a phenomenal career, you know, with Ireland, with his clubs in Stoke and the many clubs, and he's doing great at Wrexham now. I think he's just had 100 appearances at Wrexham.
He's club captain as well.
You know, looking at some of the players I played with up there, like League of Ireland greats, Peter Hutton, what a phenomenal player, Sean Hargan. I even played with Liam Kyle, and Liam Kyle was out of this world. And people ask me all the time, who's probably the best player you've ever played against or played with? And I have to say, hands down, one of the best players I've ever played with is Paddy McCourt.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
Honest to God, what that lad.
The Derry Pele.
Oh, Derry Pele. Snake hips, what he could actually do with a football. And he used to just ghost Pappy. And I mean to say just breeze past him. And, you know, I keep telling people, just go and look at his top 10 or top 20 goals for Celtic. And you're just like going, oh my God, this is insane. And what he could have been, look, he still had a great career, but he actually was phenomenal.
I think if you break it down to what you were saying about the diet and stuff like that, maybe if he could follow that strategic plan, he probably would have kicked on.
Yeah.
But some people, you know what I mean? I think that's what's missing in the game now is that, you know, that maverick player.
Exactly.
You know,
football geniuses, it's nearly too easy for them.
Yeah,
They're
because
like,
it's coached out of a lot of players.
Why do I have to do that? Like, why do I have to get fit and strong when I can just breeze past you anyhow?
It's coached out of players too as well a lot these days. You don't really see it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a dying art.
It is a dying art. You spoke about Joe earlier on, Joe Cole. He was the same. What he was doing as a kid, and then he went to Chelsea, and they said Mourinho turned him into just an up and down winger and stuff like that. Like, but he was mercurial as well. He was what he could do with a football as well was off the charts. Yeah,
well, tell me then. So you moved from Derry and you go back to England. Is that the right way?
Yeah, we win the FAI Cup. It was my last game. Do you remember the 4-3 game?
Yeah.
Mark Farron. scores.
You must have some good memories then when the FAI Cup rolls around like it did the other day.
Oh yeah, it's
So
amazing.
it just brings you back.
I love what they've done with the FAI Cup now. I love that the Aviva does be packed.
It's a very good day out.
It's a great day out. Like, they've really turned that into a whole tradition now. Like, you know, and I think it's great to see, because anytime it was great when I was back working with the men's team, with the senior team and working with Stephen and everyone there, that we'd go into the cup final around this time, and you know, big win, big double, first time in '87 since they won the double Rovers. So yeah, it is a great occasion. It's a phenomenal occasion. I remember Galway won it in '91. Johnny Glynn scored. Tommy Keane down the right wing whipped it in, and we all went mental. I remember going into the cathedral, watching, bringing them in the cup afterwards. So, yeah, to win the FAI Cup was major as well, and that was my last game in the League of Ireland.
Some way to go out.
Yeah, and Derry were trying to re-sign me, but yeah, I'd signed for Cardiff, and I went back over to Cardiff then. I signed for Cardiff, was that 2006, 2007.
Okay, and so talk to me about that then, and obviously your kind of career gone over in the UK up into when you start actually getting recognised by Ireland, because I know there was you spoke about it in the book again, so I'm going to plug it again, but it's just, it took you a long time. You thought the call-up was going to come a lot sooner than it did, but like, I'm not sure exactly how the career went at Cardiff, but I know at Millwall you're seen as an absolute legend there. And I know the fans absolutely adore you there. That's kind of like your home, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. In England, yeah, totally, yeah. I was 26. And that's when I went to Cardiff City. And I had 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years at Cardiff City. And that was carnage in itself. Ali had moved over. She was 7 months pregnant. And when I look at it now, I think, Jesus, what a hero. There's not many women that would move countries at 7 months pregnant, get new doctors, that whole thing. So the support she showed for me was amazing.
I think I heard you say on a podcast before that you wanted to push it off probably till the baby was done and then go over, and she was like, no, let's go.
Let's go.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah. She was like, no, let's go. I was like, well, let's. She goes, no, we're going to do it. Let's do it right. Like,
fair play.
I was like, yeah, fair play. So big shout out to Ali. So where was I there?
You were saying about Cardiff, kind of.
Yeah, so Cardiff
26 carnage.
Cardiff was carnage because
Carnage City.
I bought a house for like Carnage City, yeah. And I bought a house. It was like $500,000 at the time, and I had a year and a half contract, and I was already in debt up to my eyeballs. Oh man, talk about stupidity, but I went for it because I thought everything was going to pick up. And
you can laugh about it now, like that's
yeah, exactly. Thing. Yeah, I wasn't laughing about it then. I was crying into me soup, and so that was a really tough year. And then 2008, the crash hit. Then, so
recession
financially. Oh man, I was on the floor. Yeah, I was in a lot of bother. So then I end up leaving Cardiff. I go on loan at Bournemouth and different things. Save a penalty against Neil Harris at Millwall. Then that started, right, need to sign this goalie. Tony Burns, who was the goalkeeping coach at Millwall at the time, he was there for 18 years. He's like me surrogate dad. And he just walked in after the manager. He says, right, we found our goalie for next year. You need to sign him. And I've walked down the tunnel in, what's it called now, the stadium at Bournemouth.
Vitality?
The Vitality Stadium, but back then it was called Dean Court. So we're going down Dean Court, and he's standing in the tunnel, and he goes, "Well played, son. Really well done today." Shook my hand, and I was going, "Geez, that's quite strange. That's never had an opposition goalkeeping coach do that to me before." So lo and behold, comes to the summer, nothing's really happening. I'm like sweating. I'm like, I've no club, got released. I'm like, oh my God. Year and a half later, looks like I'm going to be tail between my legs again, heading back to Ireland. And next thing, phone rings. Kenny Jackett wants to sign me as number one. And he's the first manager to ever ring me up and say, I want you as me, actually number one.
How did that feel for you?
Oh, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. My daughter was just born. She was lying in my chest, asleep. And I was trying to like tell Ali and not wake the baby and jump up and down and shout and just be like, oh my God, Millwall, and just the whole thoughts of it. And I just started to see, I could see the vision of it. Like I was like, right, League One, get to the Championship. Right, this is my pathway to get to play with Ireland.
Yeah, that's your number one goal. Yeah.
I want to get Millwall to the Premier League. I just started to see that, and I just said, right, this is. It just felt so right on so many levels, because where I was in myself mentally and emotionally, and the level of anger and rage that was in me, Millwall was the exact club what I actually needed. Yeah. So it was the glove fit, put it that way.
Yeah, and
I talk about that in the book. I talk about how that works energetically and the dynamics around that.
Yeah, and you know, I know you went on to have a little scuffle with Kenny Jackett later on, but your time in Millwall, all in all, for the most part, was, you know, you were consistently playing. You were you're the main man there, really, and you see the way you spoke there about kind of the energy and stuff like that. Like, Millwall are known to be wild. You know, but we do have a lot of Irish players that have played there over the years, and there's some there now at the moment. I know Sean Williams was a big player there, big
Massive.
cult hero, kind of like yourself as well. He's really
amazing.
well renowned.
Yeah, great foot, great left foot.
Yeah, great player, great lad as well.
Yeah.
I know Danny McNamara is there now.
Yes, Will Smallbone.
Will Smallbone, he's just gone there, isn't he, this season? Yeah. But I know Danny is big and probably should have been capped a couple of years ago, but he hadn't been. But anyway, my point being is that there's been a lot of Irish. Jason Malumbi went on loan there for a period.
Jason loved it.
Yeah, no, he did, and he was.
Jason absolutely.
I think he probably had his best season alongside Sean Williams, in my opinion.
Absolutely,
thought he was excellent there. And he's a nice lad, Jason. By the way, I like them all. Yeah. But for you then, so when do you start kind of coming into your own at Millwall?
Yeah.
Like you're actually feeling like, you know, because there's a lot of like imposter syndrome and stuff like that, and you seem like you suffered from that earlier in your career as time kind of goes on, but now you're at this place where obviously
I didn't suffer from it. I was haunted by it.
well, you know what I mean. But even if you go into a different environment, and like I feel like that sometimes. I can be in a different environment. I'm like, oh God, you know, and you feel like you shouldn't be there, but then people start talking to you, going, oh, you're really good at this, you're really good at that, and all of a sudden you're kind of going, oh, actually maybe I am, and that's probably how I see it. Maybe for you. Yeah,
look, like we said earlier on, it was like coming home. At first, it was a bit of a roller coaster to get, you know, the trust going and people to trust me, and players to trust me, and the fan base to trust me, and all those different things. And I make a penalty save from
Harris.
No, left centre half for Everton legend.
Unsworth. Yeah, left back. Yeah,
he was playing for Huddersfield at the time.
Yeah, he scored a lot of penalties, so to save one of him.
Yeah, he's one of the highest rates.
He's very
penalties
good
in the Premier League.
Yeah. Rhino was his nickname.
Yeah, he had a foot in him like Thor's hammer, like you know, Ulner, and I've made an unbelievable save bottom right hand corner at the den. I can still feel it, and I can still feel my shoulder recoiling, the pace and power of it, and I managed to push it round the post. And next thing, the whole stadium just went mental. We ended up winning the game 1-0. Next thing, the fans were like, Fordey, number one, Fordey, number one. And next thing, the hairs in the back of my head. And I was like, I was walking off and I was nearly in tears at the same time. Like, even when I think about it now.
They grew a monster.
It grew a monster. Exactly, yeah. And I just morphed into a whole different animal, really. And then I played 150 something games on the spin. And as you said, I won't spoil it, I'll leave for people to read that one with Kenny. And then going on to play for Ireland, and you know how my career started to evolve and really step into my own after 28, 29, I was that age. And then when I hit my 30s, 31, that's when I really started to, all right, now physically, mentally, emotionally, I started doing a lot of stuff with my mind back then. I started practicing a lot of meditation. People thought I was losing my mind. I did lose my mind because it was my mind getting me into all the trouble anyhow. So losing it was actually a really good thing. And I started to understand the power of the mind. I really started to look at that, and I started talking about it at the time. You know, everybody be doing this one day. I could see 10 years down the line, and here we are.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been something that people are kind of embracing more than ever. Retreats, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
So-
tell me about the Himalayas and sneaking off. You have to tell us about
Where did you hear about that?
And I can't tell you that.
Yeah. That's top secret. No, only kidding. Yeah, so we're playing at the Den on a Saturday afternoon. And I had booked a flight over to Delhi.
In India.
In India, yeah. So next thing, whistle blows. And I'm like, right, I need to get on the flight 8 o'clock at Heathrow, which takes probably a couple hours to get across. Lo and behold, we're sitting in the change room afterwards, and the manager's, I think we got beat. He's raging. He's like, you know what? I can't believe we've lost. And I'm just looking at the clock, going, man, I have to catch a flight. So anyway, he finishes up, quick shower. It was like, you know, lock, stock, two smoking barrels. Land in Delhi the next morning, and it's 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. I get picked up by a car. I get brought, jump in a car, had a bit of food, have a quick shower, and I got brought up to a place called Raniket, which is called the Queen's Meadow, which is it's well into the Himalayas, but it's still classed as kind of the foothills. It's called the Queen's Meadow. So I'm in there anyhow, ready to go. So I spent 3 days going around the Himalayas, going to a place called Kanchi Dam. Kanchi Dam, there was a great Baba called Baba Neem Karoli, modern day saint. That's where Steve Jobs went to. That's where he got his inspiration for Apple. Because Baba Neem Karoli used to give a darshan, which is a blessing. He'd get the apple, take a bite, give it to you, and that was it. So that's where Apple.
Oh, there you go.
From.
iPhones, the whole lot. People probably
so
don't realize
that's where
that.
he says he got his whole inspiration
Right,
from.
okay.
So I'm in these places and going to temples, meeting Babas, going to yogis, doing fire prayers, water prayers, all sorts of madness. But it was wild. It was wonderful. It took me so out of the mundane. It was beyond the mundane of just football and day-to-day stuff. It was just so refreshing to be in such a whole different culture, a whole different type of environment. I was loving it. So I love traveling. I love meeting people. I love doing all that kind of thing. And obviously we're practicing meditation and meeting yogis, sadhus, you know, the whole 9 yards. And I thought, right, these guys and meeting them and seeing the actually intensity in their eyes. And you'd go, they'd nearly scare you, but yet the love they had behind it. It was phenomenal. And what they could actually share with you and help you with, you were like, this is next level stuff. So comes to a Wednesday, I was like, right, 12 hours back down onto a flight, rocked back in, told the manager a little white lie. I was going over to see my dad. He was at in Galway. And I rock into training, or fly in 6 o'clock, get to the training ground for 8 o'clock when the first one's in. Boys were like, where have you been the last few days and stuff? I said, lad, you won't believe it where I was. They were like, where? I was like, the Himalayas. Like, piss off, Fordey. You're chatting shit again, like, you know, you went home or whatever. Like, I said, lads, I've been in the Himalayas the last few, and they wouldn't believe me. And people still probably struggle.
Wasn't it a case of, you know, it's taking a selfie there like you could now? Yeah. Back then it wasn't like the in thing.
100%. And I've done that many times. And what it actually did for me personally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, energetically, so many different layers, so many different, you can speak about it, but words wouldn't put it into justice. Because like that, I was battling with my own mind and battling with myself so many times. And I started to find the answers for myself and what actually worked. And when I started getting into those practices, pranayama and being taught and being trained in those practices, I started to realise then that, right, these were actually the game changers, because I started to get my mind one-pointed, focused, my concentration levels, and as a goalkeeper that I battled with as a kid, really struggled with, now I could get this. Now all of a sudden I'm in the Irish team. People are going, how have you gone from being like Millwall's number 1 to a nowhere man to like being number 3? Now Trapattoni has made you Ireland's number 1, and your absolutely trajectory is going through the roof. Where most people get to it, it was only Martin Byrne. I don't know if you know Martin. Do you remember the security guard? He used to be with Ireland.
Maybe know his face.
Yeah, absolute hero.
Yeah.
And he used to always call me Tiger. And what was the other one he used to call me? Coming back, the Virginian.
Okay, what's
It was
that?
an old TV show. This guy, cowboy guy, he used to call me the Virginian. Like, I still haven't seen
So
that
is
guy.
your body
Actually, I must
shape
look him
or
up.
the way you
Actually,
walk, or
it's the way he walked, body shape. He
Okay,
was
yeah.
big, dressed in black or whatever. Like, you know, I must actually look it up. I still haven't looked it up. So he first thing he says to me is, "How many caps do you want?" And I said, "I just want one. One, I'll be."
Martin says this to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing, he was amazing because what he did in terms of integrating people into the team and floor was phenomenal. So, how many caps do you want? I says, one. And one's my dream. And he says, you'll get between 20 and 30. And I looked at him thinking, Jesus, you don't know jack shit about football. Like, and I end up getting 24. Yeah. Not only did I live
The
my
age of
dream.
31 is very good.
Exactly. And not only did I live my dream once, I got to live it 24 times. And it was only a few weeks ago, he said it to me. He said, Davey, he said, I don't think you get it. And I said, why'd you say that? He said, most players at that age, like maybe get a cap or two and then sail off into the sunset. He says, you actually went that way. You know, and then being up for like player of the year as well with Robbie Keane and Seamus Coleman, which was crazy. And at that stage, I'm 31, 32, 33. And my performance level started to go through the roof. So I started to understand the power of the mind. And I realised that in the book, I call it Everyone's Greatest Opponent. That's the chapter. And it's hyphenated or it's underlined for E.
I think that'd be a good learner for
ego.
people. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So there's so many different layers in it for young footballers, young kids. There's so much in it for coaches, for parents, how to deal with young men, how to deal with players. There's so many layers in that book. It's hard to even codify it. You know, one of the biggest problems I found is even talking to editors and publishers. They're like, what do we class as this at? Everybody thinks it's just a sport book. It's more than just sports. It has that element in it, but that's the I suppose the platform that allowed me to share my story and to understand me and who I am as a person and what my individuality is.
I want to just hone in on the Irish side, Trapattoni and all of that, because that's kind of mainly what people are listening to this would be Irish football fans. So to become his number one and everything he's achieved. I was speaking with, do you know Dick Redmond?
Dick, yeah.
I was sitting with him at
best kit man ever.
Yeah, I was
Superman Dick.
Yeah, that's right.
He's got a Superman suit on.
I was sitting
Did he
with
ever
him.
show you the story with his mankini on?
No, he didn't. But
I'll show you after.
He's due to come in for a podcast actually, so he did say that. But I was sitting with him at the Waterford.
We're out just go into it. We're out in Slovakia or Slovenia or something.
Go ahead, tell it.
And they come around collecting the kit in a mankini. Do you know the Borat, the green one?
Yeah.
Nuts hanging out. Oh man, it was hilarious.
Is there any photos of it? Or
I'm sure there's a few floating around.
Okay, yeah. No, because I was sitting with him watching the Waterford and Bray game, the relegation promotion playoff, and I was sitting with him, and he wasn't really aware of the channel and stuff like that. And I was saying it to him that a couple of the lads on, and he was saying that he'll come on, but he was telling me some stories and stuff like that. So I actually look forward to getting him on. And when I get him on, I might reach out to yourself and maybe Robbie Keane and a couple of others who would have played with him at the time to get some funny stories from him. You know, some that are suitable for the airwaves, some aren't. I know that, but some will be.
Ask him about the one, and he even says it himself. He's like, Fordey saved me life. Did he tell you that one?
No.
Just before we went to the Euros in 2012, I've gone up to the kickers. I used to be one of the first ones up, go down at breakfast, and I was always up early. So I've gone up to get me kit, and next thing I walked into the kit room, and I see Dick in there, and he's like purple. I mean to say, like, this lad's not well, right? So I thought, I see you all right? And he says, yeah, I don't feel great. So I ran down to Dr. Alan Byrne. You should get Dr. Alan Byrne on as well, like Doc's
if he'll do it,
yeah. And so I knock on the door, I said, Doc, you got to come up here to Dick. Comes up to Dick. He's had a heart attack. Yeah, he gets rushed off into hospital.
Really?
And then, yeah. And then there's carnage going. He won't be able to go to the Euros. He's raging, everything else. And it was a Saturday night that we all had before we went away because we'd be gone for ages. So Trap gave us a night out. So players could go away, staff could do whatever else. It was the night of the Champions League final. Who was in 2012? Was that United? No.
Was it United Barca? Rooney scored.
Was
and
United?
Then David Villa
United,
scored.
Barca, United, Chelsea.
Chelsea Bayern.
Yeah, it could have been one of them.
Yeah,
Anyway, it was one of them. And I think
it was my granddad's
Munster,
funeral that day, actually.
and I think Munster were in the Champions League
Not a rugby man here now, so I
Hey?
wouldn't know. I'm not a rugby man, so I wouldn't know.
Excuse me. So Munster or Leinster were in the...
Well, if it was 11-12, it would have been probably Chelsea and Bayern because
Okay.
that's the Euros then, isn't it? So.
Right, yeah. So I can't remember. So they had a
I
night
was away. I was away, and Torres had scored the goal against Barca in the semi-final, so they went on to win at Chelsea.
Yeah. That was it.
Yeah, Di Matteo.
Yeah.
So that will bring it back. Yeah, sorry.
So the staff had a night out arranged for Malahide in...
Yeah, where the training used to be, yeah.
Yeah, what's the...
Gibney's?
Gibney's.
Yeah, it's a famous spot, yeah.
Famous spot, yeah. Good Guinness, good music, and a bit of crack. So they had a night out planned for Gibney's. So Dick gets out of hospital, they give him a few tablets, and there's a whole commotion of, will he be able to go? We all wanted him to go. Imagine you get to the Euros first time in 20-something years or 20 years or whatever it was, and he couldn't make it. So he got these tablets or whatever else, and he said, right, I'm going. Hail, rain, sun or shine, like Trap, I'm going. Trap wasn't too sure, because he was concerned about his welfare. So next thing Dick goes, yeah, I'm going. I'm going on the night out. So Dick gets checked out of hospital, goes to Gibney's, and Mick Lawler was, the two of the boys were the two kitmen, and the two of them were
Yin and yang.
Yeah, they were stuck at the hip. So Dick is in one cab, Mick is in the other. They get out. Dick goes into Gibney's. So as he gets to Gibney's, he lies down on the pavement outside Gibney's, and all the other staff are around him, making out they're doing CPR on him and stuff like that. Mick gets out of the car, no, screams, start running across the road, whatever else. And Mick jumps up, and goes, hey.
It's a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Yeah. So it was so funny. It was just the way they told it. But I'm sure there's more layers to that story, and Dick could probably tell you even better himself.
Yeah, he's
what a character.
Quite the character, even sitting beside him. But back to, I suppose, you're coming into a team with the likes of Robbie Keane, Richie Dunn, John O'Shea, Glenn Whelan. Who else? There was some big Jonathan Walters would have been one playing around then. Big cars. Shay Given would have been in and around. I think he was retired when you were there when he came in.
No, Shay was there. Shay was number one.
Okay.
So I went in 2011.
Yeah, but more kind of focus on, you mentioned that you were probably coming in older than these lads, but at the same time these were all established, Duffer, as you said. I mean, what a player he was. So, and then Trapattoni makes you his number one, and I know you spoke about that as well in the book. I don't want to spoil that story for other people. You've kind of gone about getting rang on the bus, so I won't go into that. But kind of talk to me about how Trapattoni was, because Dick actually mentioned the story of how I think he was having his wife's birthday or something like that, and Trapattoni heard about it, and he says, "I will come," and he ended up going to the wife's party, and Dick had to ring up the place in the, I don't know where it was on the north side, but anyway, Trapattoni wanted to come, so he actually came, and I can't remember who blew a gasket about it going mad, but this is the type of thing he was. He wasn't afraid to kind of mingle, and this is a fella who's won it all, played and managed, and he so. When he's showing you that much love, I mean, because you probably wanted it as a young lad the whole way through. You probably wanted someone to kind of put that arm around their shoulder, and someone of his stature to then believe in you. And I mean, you had some super appearances for Ireland. We beat Italy, obviously, in your debut. Was it the one Stephen Hunt scored?
That was it, yeah. That was it, yeah.
And Simon Cox
over in Belgium.
Yeah, and there was a bit of carnage, because I think there was the night out the night before or something like that, and we still went out and betted a good Italy side, very good Italy side, and obviously Trapattoni, Italy, and all of that.
Exactly. Full house over in Liège, and that was a massive win. Kept a clean sheet.
We'd bite your hand off for a friendly win in that game now.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%. And I remember coming in afterwards and Trap just saying, bene, tutto bene. David, bene, tutto bene. And I thought, good, great. And I just thought, all right, fair enough. I did well, played well. But what he was saying was, right, you're reliable, you're trustworthy, you're in, you've gone up in my estimations. And just that night, just looking at your family name, on the back of the shirt, and you're wearing it, and you're going
Number
walking
one.
out. Yeah, and you're number one. You're walking out for your country, and listening to Our Own Naveen, and all of a sudden, all your wildest dreams, everything you've dreamt of, has just come into that focal point at that moment. And it was funny because I was actually in floods of tears. It was just, I don't know, it was tears of joy. Yeah, and thankfully
Relief,
the heavens opened up, and relief. All those, yeah, exactly. 100%,
A lot of years waiting.
Yeah.
That's relief, like in my
Yeah.
opinion, anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you're dead right. Spot on. And yeah, just the clouds opened up and masqueraded me tears. But yeah, it was a very, very proud night. It was an amazing night, and it set off an amazing, probably, 6 years with Ireland.
And how are the lads with you? Like in terms of you're looking at Robbie and stuff like that. Like I think he was a phenomenal captain, and he seemed to be the one that kind of set the tone in and around the squad. He's doing a very good job managing now. But in terms of a leader and stuff like that, was like to be around. How was he with you when you came in? Because I hear stories all the time about Seamus Coleman and how good he is for young lads coming in now. So obviously you're that bit older. What's it like kind of coming into that environment?
Yeah, look,
Tougher as well.
Robbie welcomed you in, but he wasn't that type of captain. He wasn't that. Robbie led what he did on the pitch. He knew that his best, what he could do for the team was to score goals and to play. And he was, he was definitely a large character and stuff like that. Like when I first came into the club, into the Irish club, that's what we used to call it sometimes. It was like, honestly, it was like a club environment. And that's funny I say that, as I just said that so naturally, like it was.
Yeah.
It was like being in. It was like Irish.
But I got what you meant anyway,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
figured, yeah.
And Kevin Kilban,
Legend. I was only speaking to him the other week.
what a guy, what a man. Kevin come up to me, how are you? Asking me where I'm from, family, checking me out. So many different things, and I thought, right, that's an absolute hero, like an absolute centurion, like. So look, everybody has their own style in terms of how they lead and different ways. There's people that lead off the pitch, there's people that lead on the pitch, show it in different ways. But yeah, look, Robbie, what he did is, it was a 78?
68 goals?
68.
Yeah.
Thought it was 78. 68 goals in international football. It's a serious return, and he's flying with Fearing Carvas.
Yeah. And I think he's doing really, really well there, and showing kind of what manager he could be. But yeah, that Trapattoni era, you do quite, like, to be his number one. I still think, I remember, because at that time I think I was coming back I was living in New York for the Euros and stuff like that, and then obviously there's that period of obviously when we played Scotland, and that's under O'Neill and Roy. And I remember that game. I remember that game vividly. Watching that actually in town. That was the one over in Hampden. And actually, two of my friends snuck into the press box that night. And I don't know if you won't remember because you were too busy fighting with Roy and Martin. But basically, one of them snuck in. I must get the video. And he basically, Scott Brown's doing an interview in a huddle with the journalists, and somehow they snuck in. You may have seen this video. And all you hear is, Scott, you fucking wanker, in the middle of the media box.
You're joking.
I must send it to you.
Do. And who was it?
A fella I know.
Oh, right.
So the two of them snuck in, drunk, snuck
yeah.
in, and they go, Scott, you fucking wanker.
Wanker,
I must dig out the video. Very funny, but I'll have to send it to you. But obviously, you remember that game for different reasons. But the famous, on the cuss, you obviously say the kind of famous story of you fucking Cork cunt to Roy. So, like, not many people would start on Roy. Obviously, we've heard a couple, John Walter, since then and stuff like that. So how, like, is it just the red mist or whatever? Obviously, you're a big lad. Like, I wouldn't fancy coming up against you. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say too many do, but without kind of going into what he does or anything like that. But, are you worried that there's going to be repercussions going back into the change room? This was in the first half, I believe. Sean Maloney scored the free kick that game, wasn't it?
It was a corner. Anya took a short corner and he got the edge of the box.
It wasn't a free kick then, it was a shot.
He played it into Brown, then Brown made Jeff Hendricks, I think. Then Maloney cut inside about 16, 70 yards, and he curled it into the
Yeah, he
top
scored
corner
it,
side
yeah.
net. Yeah, Maloney did score, yeah, but it wasn't a free kick. No, it was a kind of.
Sorry, I was just thinking because it was the edge of the box, but yeah, I know he was the one who scored. 'Cause I remember watching it, but and I remember thinking that's the that was the Euros gone for 2016. I felt losing against them because we still had Germany in the group and stuff like that.
100%. We all came back after that game. We were like, how have we not at least got a draw in that game? I think John hit the crossbar. John O'Shea hit the crossbar. I don't know, was it once or twice?
He's a player we actually left out when we said big characters, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like John, like
Quality.
the most decorated probably Irish footballer ever. You
Yeah,
know, he's up there.
with Roy as well.
Yeah, and so yeah, we did everything. We pushed hard, and we come away from that game. We think, right, that's us done, and we get that phenomenal result against Germany. Pick up some results along the way, and we qualify for the Euros.
But you come off in that game for Darren Randolph.
No, because after that Celtic game and after the altercation with Roy, I lost my position.
Were you
That
not
was
in goal?
that was in the November, and then we played. I think it was a Poland or someone at the Aviva,
Poland,
and I got
yeah,
dropped
that's
for
right.
that.
Shane
And then Shea goes down injured, and he's shouting over. He's like, "Get Fordey ready." So Randy goes, "Come down. I'll get you ready. I'll get you warmed up in the tunnel." So I've got my gloves on, get my pads on, ready to go onto the pitch to feel the play. And next thing, Seamus McDonough comes down and he goes, "Randolph, you're on." So we just looked at each other, and I could still see his eyes and my eyes kind of going, right, what's happening here? So that was that, yeah.
And then he sets up the Shane Long goal.
Yeah.
And I imagine everyone in the country is absolutely buzzing at that moment, except for maybe you, from a personal point of view, in terms of obviously Darren came on ahead of you.
I'll tell you what happened was I was over the moon. First and foremost, I'm a massive Irish football fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm over the moon. But that still didn't mean that it hurt. And
That's kind of more what I meant.
Pill. Yeah,
not in a selfish way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow. And when something happened like that to me, like, to be honest, more emotionally and mentally, I left the stadium. It was like I was just there in body, and everyone goes off mental, and I was so not present in that moment because I was still caught in the past of the hurt. Yeah. And then when that roar went up and everyone cheered, it brought me straight back in again, and I'm like, oh my God, we're winning. And rather than just thinking about my selfishness of, all right, I'm not starting, I'm not playing, my dream was still, and my ambition was to play the major tournament as well, you know. And there was still hopes of, right, we can go to France and we can qualify, and I can, you know, get my place back or get back in the side or do X, Y, and Z, like, you know.
Yeah, obviously we know that you didn't end up going, but what was the interactions like then? Because it just seemed after that Scotland game, you'd fallen out of favour there.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone was probably trying to figure out what had just happened.
Is it because you let roar at them? And like, I know you said there's a bit of it in the book, but was that the general reason?
There was never a reason given.
In your head, though, was that?
Yeah, but you start putting one and one together. There was a time in a period where, whether it was done intentionally or unintentionally, I felt there was a lot of undermining happening in terms of Shea coming out of retirement, coming back in. Roy was at Aston Villa. You know, there was a lot of talk around that time and around that place. There were certain things happening on the training ground, like even the warm up. I speak about that in the book, where I'm starting in a European qualifier, and Seamus McDonough brings Shea Given over to do a warm up over the far corner of the pitch, and I'm starting.
And Westwood says
Kieran
it to
Westwood
you,
Kieran Westwood warms me up before the game. So that says it all, really, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
I started to see things like that, and I was thinking, right, this isn't actually right. This is, you know, it's not doing my confidence or doing my self belief any favors. And that's what probably led to the frustration of that outburst. And then after that, then, you know, it's very interesting and understanding power dynamics and how relationships work and how power and control works, which I fully understand now. And look, those men are doing their job and they felt what was best for the team and everything else. I felt totally threatened, total survival mode, all those different areas and elements. Didn't feel the, I suppose, they didn't feel the appreciation or the that was actually right to happen at that time, and vice versa, and neither did I. And then all of a sudden was, well, look, they'd make the decisions. I don't really have much choice in the situation. I had to surrender to it and actually take my medicine, and it was a bitter pill to swallow. But you know what? I had the courage to take my medicine, and I actually went, right. That's where it's at. That's what's actually after happening. And even though it wasn't great for me personally, but when you look at what happened in 2016 and what it brought to the island, what it brought to the nation, what it brought to the spirit of people, you know, it was truly amazing to witness and watch that. That it was way above and beyond just me and David Forde, you know. It was way bigger than that.
I'm just conscious of your time now. It's 5-5 there, so I'm gonna start looking at kind of
Supermax is called.
No, I just not in a rude way.
Large curry cheese chip.
Huh?
Large curry cheese chip, breast of chicken. It's my little ritual when I come home. Supermax.
Oh, okay.
So it's calling.
Start ringing them.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, obviously, you're gonna bring it back to where you are now in terms of what you're doing, and you worked with the Irish national team as well. Obviously, we know we've been struggling, and I want you to talk about what you do as well in this segment. But we know we've been struggling probably since Mick left, Mick McCarthy. We probably not got good results towards the end of Martin's reign, but we were still kind of in contention for stuff. But then when Stephen came in and was largely unlucky, in my opinion, you know, that COVID period, he was losing lots of players every single time there was a camp. There was no cohesion, there was no consistency of squads. No one really knew who was. He had to bring a large proportion of them through. A lot of them are scarred, I would say, at this stage from international football and results. How do you see, you've been in kind of, I don't want to know the secrets that go on inside it, but what's the kind of general kind of mental vibe when you're going to the international camp? But like, I know they all get on very well, but where are their heads when it comes to match day preparation and that type of stuff? Because there's so little time to prepare, training wise and all of that. People don't see that side of it.
Yeah, no, and it's true. And I know people have come up and said we haven't enough time together and everything else, and then coming into the Irish team. And all of a sudden you're meant to turn it on and everything gels and everything goes well. And it's not such an easy environment in the first place. I hear what you're saying about, you know, after the results after Mick. I do firmly believe that Stephen was extremely unlucky. I
agree, yeah.
And there was certain times where we were playing really, really well, and Anthony Barry was there as well at the time, and I think it was really unfortunate that Anthony left also. He's a phenomenal coach as well. And you look at Keith, what he's doing now at Brentford, great coach. And
are you surprised?
Stephen's a great man.
Are you surprised by Keith just quickly?
Not at all. Keith's got a great self-belief in what he does and what he is and what he isn't. You know, and I'm not surprised at it all, and it's great to see. It's great to see an Irishman 100%. Doing his best, and you know, as Irish people, we should be supporting people. There's too many people, you know. It's not one of the most positive traits of, and I used to do it myself. Is knocking other Irish people.
Begrudgery.
Yeah, begrudgery. Yeah,
as my nan says.
Yeah, biggest begrudgers in the whole world.
Begrudgers. That's what she says.
She's dead right. Yeah,
she's 91, still going strong. But
that's why she's 91. You know, and.
We were saying about Stephen.
Yeah, about Stephen got really unlucky, and I remember one game, I remember it so well, and we're playing. It's funny because we're playing Portugal again on Thursday night.
The 2-1.
The 2-1 out in Portugal, and I remember going out into the stadium in Faro. Stadium fills up, and it was my first time really from the work I do now, being able to observe and witness the enigma that Ronaldo is and the power that man actually has.
I saw it only a few weeks ago in Lisbon.
Phenomenal. Amazing.
Yeah.
Like Tucker, he's like a human magnet. He warm up, whatever he did, I swear to God, there must have been 60,000 heads just watching him. Just all focused on him. I'm sat there going, wow, this is amazing.
I saw it at the training in Lisbon, and I was like, wow, yeah.
This is amazing. And so we're playing the game. Gavin makes an unbelievable penalty save to his right. It was huge, massive. It was unfortunate because Darragh O'Shea got a bad injury that day. He got a bad knock.
Attacking from behind, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he was out, yeah.
Yeah, it was nasty. John Egan scores the header.
Legend.
Unbelievable, what a guy. And we're playing some absolute... You couldn't tell the difference between Portugal and Ireland, basically. We played them off the park.
That partnership of Adam Ida and Aaron Connolly that night, they tore Portugal to shreds. Pepe and I can't remember who the other centre back.
Pepe and you one, yeah. Pepe didn't know what to do.
Big time,
yeah. And we're there. 90th minute goes up, and there was actually a problem on the technical side of things. Whoever was meant to be doing the scoreboards couldn't really fix the scoreboard. That was a whole different debacle as well, and a whole other different thing behind the scenes. And they never got the scoreboard or the substitution done in time.
Who was the sub?
I can't remember. You'd have to do your research on that one. But anyhow, I'm still watching the game, and we're still 1-0 up, and it puts up 8 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever it is. I'm like, oh my God, this feels like an eternity. I said, if we win this game, this could be monumental for Irish football. This could really kick it off, because now all of a sudden, players that have come through the 21s, the young players that Stephen had brought through, it's a rite of passage. It's a sense of, all right, we're heading in that direction. This is a major game against one of the best teams in the world, one of the best players in the world. And I remember looking at Ronaldo the whole game, and he did jack shit. I mean to say, didn't get a sniff.
He just fought with Seamus the whole game.
Fought with Seamus. Well, no, he didn't actually.
Verbally, I mean.
It was only in the last 5 minutes he did that.
Really? Yeah. I remember, well, on the TV you could see them bickering quite a bit.
Well, maybe, yeah. I don't remember that, but I just remember the last few minutes, and something happened in the box, and him and Seamus had an altercation. And I fundamentally remember looking and going, oh my God, Seamus, no, don't poke the bear. Don't. Just leave him. Just let him, just...
Be nice to him,
yeah. Be nice. It's nearly over. Just leave him. Next thing, he pokes the bear. Don't know who broke down the right wing, whips in a cross. And I mean to say, he was about 3 foot in the air, and he out-jumped Shane Duffy, who can jump to about 15 foot.
We saw that in the reverse fixture, yeah.
He goes, bosh, top corner, 1-1. Oh, man. I was like, geez, a draw, not bad.
Yeah.
I think at least draw. Next thing, take off the kick-off, boom, boom, boom. Identical goal, ran down the wing, crossed it. Ronaldo in the air, hang time, bang, 2-1. And the whole bubble just went. The deflation of it. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, what if that went in? But then the performances were really strong. We were playing some really good stuff, but we were just struggling to get those results across the line.
We got a draw against Serbia as well.
Yeah, but people forget that. People forget that there was a great connection between the team and Stephen and the way things were actually going. There was a real good period there where things looked like they were going to elevate and actually kick off. It's only afterwards people actually go, oh no, that didn't work, that didn't really happen. I do fundamentally believe that's actually unfair. It's an unfair reflection of the players. It's an unfair reflection on the manager, the staff, and the whole thing. That wasn't a true picture of looking at it objectively from a bird's eye view.
It was fine margins, let's be honest.
Exactly.
It was literally, we win that game in Portugal, it's a total different complexion. Yeah. The performance that night was unbelievable, and I think everyone, I think it was almost a case of the League of Ireland fans really wanted to see Stephen do well, and then there was an element of the Premier League kind of snobs that didn't want Stephen to do well, and then it was a case of, okay, well, we hope that Stephen can kick on, and everyone was hoping that was going to be the result that kicked us on, and ultimately it was like, look, typical League of Ireland manager, what do you expect, because we lost the game. Not saying that these young lads who all played that game, Darragh O'Shea, Omobama Deli, he came in for his debut that night, didn't he? Yeah, he came on, played unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Came on for Darragh in that horror challenge, I think, as you mentioned. Yeah. And he was only breaking through at Norwich at the time. Yeah. And we had really good, strong, Connolly and Ida were brilliant up front, and they chased everything down, and they were, Adam Ida came his life that night, I thought. In the white jersey, wasn't it, with the kind of 88 style, or was it the 90 style? Yeah, it was a nice kit, the Umbro one. But
love the Umbro.
But basically, my point there is, it was fine margins, and that's kind of where I was interested to kind of know from your point of view, like if you're dealing with the players and mentally and stuff like that, and then obviously like we do content, like we'd have to do like a reaction of the game. Now I'd always say that we're not negative. We'd always be quite positive or constructively talking about different. And I know some players would watch some of our stuff or whatever, and some of them maybe will resent some of the stuff we say or something like that. But would you have advice maybe to the younger players, like that maybe watch it or whatever, like
Absolutely.
not watch it, or or
100%. Look,
or how does that come in, and your role kind of around that team?
If you're not strong enough mentally and emotionally to deal with what you're going to get, don't be on these platforms. Stay away from them. Yeah, you have a choice in it. You can either listen to it or not listen to it, depending on how you let it in, and how thick your skin is. Why I say that is speaking from experience, because when the internet came out, chat rooms came out, I used to get up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, haunted, couldn't sleep. I'd go down Blackbirds or the Bluebirds chat rooms, Cardiff, type in David Forde, search engine, what are they all saying? Brrr, come up. Fat, overweight, Irish prick, useless, not good enough, ex-League of Ireland, he's got loads of potential, he's great. Great, oh yeah, great. It was like a little shot in the arm in terms of where my self-esteem and where my self-worth is actually at. And see, when we have an understanding of our self-worth and our self-belief, well then all of a sudden we have a whole different thing going on. Yeah? Personally myself, and I'll say this openly, yeah, as Irish people, we play the underdog. And personally myself, I don't think it serves us really, really well. It serves us once in a blue moon every now and again. People say to me when I was doing my own work and my own development around my mindset and my well-being, and my own coach and mentor turned around to me and he said, how are you fixed for the game? And I said, Jesus, I'm very nervous on Monday. I'm playing Greece or someone on the Wednesday. Jeez, I don't know if I'm good enough. I'm playing for Ireland and everything else. And he turned around and he said, you know what? He said, you've got one of the biggest egos I've ever met. I thought, oh my God, I got an ego. Jesus, that's like, the man that said it to me was like sticking a pin in my heart. Like, it was like sticking a knife in my heart nearly. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. And I was like, but I'm nice, David, humble guy, all those different things. Yeah, I wanted to be seen as the nice guy. And see, everybody in football wants to see as the nice guy. Nobody wants to see him as the kind man. Yeah, because the nice guy will throw someone under a bus, throw themselves and everybody else under the bus. And I said to him, how does that work? And he said, David, he said, self-doubt is the biggest ego. I've never heard that in a book. I've never seen it in any psychological text. I haven't heard anything else about it since. And he was dead right, because I was full of self-doubt. And if you're full of self-doubt, you got no confidence. If you got confidence, you got no self-doubt. No one ever looks at, well, how do I work on these things? How do I work on my self-esteem? How do I work on my self-worth? How do I work on what it actually means to be an Irishman? What that actually represents? What's my culture? What's my heritage? How we go from boys to men? How we mature mentally and emotionally? Yeah, if you're immature and you can't take criticism, yeah, because every time I received criticism, yeah, I had to understand that it was actually critique. You're in the world of football, you're in the world of sport. It's okay to be critiqued. That's the nature of it. That's the nature of the beast. As long as it's not personal. But this is the thing. But footballers are so sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
And so protective. Because personally, we haven't worked on those elements. And why I say that is because I never worked on those elements myself. If I had, I can only imagine what I would have went on to do in my career. Fundamentally, I do believe I had that potential and I had that ability to play for some of the top clubs in Europe and around the world. Hands down.
Yeah, but you were in Ireland number one for the good team. It wasn't like it was...
But like, I got there eventually.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying that you were still there, so you did have the potential. We were a good side back then, despite what people maybe want to say.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily about that, but it's about understanding for myself where I was and what we could actually be when we move away from the stigma, yeah, and start looking at the strategy and start looking at it's the mind that drives the body, not the body that drives the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've somewhere, some stage in football, we've started to over-identify with the body. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sports science,
100%,
all those different elements. No one's taken the care and the time to actually realise that this is actually a mind game. It's an inner game. It's winning the game within. The game is won and lost in there. Yeah, how you prepare Monday to Friday, it'll determine what you pick up on the Saturday. So what's more important? Preparation, looking after the mind, looking after your emotional and mental states, all those different elements. Some players do it, some players don't. There's still an area that we're just skating over the surface. And players, people, clubs, I've seen it across the board, ticking boxes. Yeah, in terms of what real stages of development and what a real type of culture actually is. And that's where I see it. I see it that like we are actually have to manage our expectations where we are as a nation. I've said it to people within the FAI. I've told them what my view is and how I see it from my experience, from what I do now, from what I did as a player. Yeah, because I understand the concept and the theory, but I also understand the practicalities and the real life experience of a life lived in that space.
I agree with you in a sense, because I think a lot of our players get compared to our greatest ever players. So in terms
100%.
of results, and they're like, oh well, we lost to this team. I said, but it's not like how many of those players are playing in the Premier League now in comparison.
100%.
So I get your point there.
Someone asked me quite high up in the FAI what did I think, and I told them, I said, I don't think you're going to like what I have to say. I said, what is that? And I said, we need to do what Wales did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what did Wales do under Toshak and Keegan? He turned around, he made a statement, we're not going to qualify for the next 3, 4, 5 tournaments. It's going to take 10, 15 years. We have to go back to grassroots, we have to start from scratch, we have to go through the whole shebang. Yeah. I'm over in the UK and people are telling me there's a budget out and the League of Ireland gets X amount of money and they got 3 million of a budget and everyone's going, oh, that's great, and the propaganda behind it. Bullshit. Yeah. I've kept my silence, but I feel the energy is right now to say this. Yeah. So you go, right, 20 clubs or whatever it is 20 clubs, and it works out 150 grand per academy, per team. What are you meant to do with 150 grand? What's that going to do? You look at that report condemning where we are in terms of infrastructure. Yeah, we're below Liechtenstein. Yeah, yet we're talking about we should be here and we should be there. Yeah, we don't even have the facilities. Yeah, there's players, there's plenty of talent, loads of it. How that's getting developed, people are doing some great things. Yeah, but we need to look at manage our expectations in terms of, hang on a second here, we are not near qualifying, and if we take that expectation away and give people a sense of freedom in it to actually just go and express themselves, go and enjoy themselves, go and give them the best opportunity, because every footballer goes out there to win. They all want to go to major tournaments. Yeah, but there's so many different things, there's so many different elements in it that has to be, it's nearly like a forest fire. You talk about hangovers and scars. The whole organisation's been scarred. Yeah. I don't know how much million we're still in debt now. That still gets washed over. There hasn't been a word said about that in years. There's so many different elements within Irish football that we live in this bubble. We're living this dream about what it actually is, what the reality actually is. Yeah. See, when a storm comes, yeah, it doesn't take away the dream. It takes away the illusion. And we have been so disillusioned for so many different years because there's so many people in Irish sport. So many people that love Irish football. I meet them all the time. So passionate. Yeah, League of Ireland people, Irish fans, just waiting to get in behind something and follow something. Yeah.
Something to believe in.
It's something to believe in. Exactly, whether that's the team, whether that's the organisation, whatever it is. Because we've lost our spirit and we've lost our soul. The whole thing has been wiped out. And we're going around in limbo trying to figure out how we're going to get here, how we're going there. And we're just getting distracted by another tournament will solve the problem. We'll get to another tour and then everything will be all rosy again and we start again.
I think that's probably what happened in 2016.
Yeah.
To be honest, because we went to that tournament, we were thinking that this is going to be the norm. Because we did well against, a lot of people don't like to say it, but we played against Italy's B team and won the game.
Absolutely.
And people are like, oh, Robbie, but I think I know what fans want is that they want that piss up, they want that day out and stuff like that. So I get it to an extent, but I would like a sustained, like for example, for us, right, as a channel, we don't want Ireland to be losing games because it doesn't do anything for us. We just get people, cretins, who just come out of the woodwork and hammer players. And if they do hammer players, we just block them. Like if they're literally atting players and abusing them, we just block them. But from our point of view, like we want to be at terms. We want to be covering Ireland at tournaments. We did it in the Women's World Cup. It was amazing. Being there in Hampden when we qualified for the World Cup, it was amazing. To be there and to be able to do that. But I think the players, for some reason, think that, like, you see other platforms that are quite heavily negative. We aren't. But if we say, like, the slightest thing, it does get taken out of, we're saying horrible things. Like, if I leave players out of a starting 11 show, which... It's just a team I'd like to see start, and I give reasons why. It's all explained. There's no personal thing about anything, but I think we kind of need to lose that. But I get what you're saying there about tournaments, and that's going to solve the question. It's bigger than that. We need to be competing at a level where we can compete, and I mean compete like where we're always competing, like we were previously. And then, as I say, that bubbles burst probably along the lines of the end of Martin's period into Mick's, kind of the start of Stevens, and then, as I say, it was a huge transition period.
Yeah, but
because
it goes back further than that. Like,
no, it is the Delaney era.
Let's not be kidding ourselves.
But I'm just saying, in terms of the transition, do you remember when...
It goes back a whole lot further than that. You know, the level of neglect. You look at the likes of Talca Park, you look at Dalymount Park, in ruins, in shambles.
They're the same as they were 20 years ago.
Dalymounts are home. If you talk about Irish home football, I've gone into Dalymount. I've sat and had cups of tea with President Michael D. Higgins. Yeah, I've gone there as an Irish player watching Derry and Bowes. And we're sitting in looking up around the walls at 60, 70,000 fans in Dalymount Park.
William Brady over that free kick.
Yeah, unbelievable things. But you look at, like, the level of neglect that's been in the game. And it keeps just getting masqueraded over with what has actually happened.
Roy talked about it.
So people are talking about scarred by the past. Yeah? But the beautiful thing about a wound, yeah, that's where the light enters. And see, we have a choice, very simple. We can feed into the wise or we can feed into the wound. Which is it? Yeah? And it's not until we start doing the latter will we actually start to progress. Because I'm telling you, fundamentally, there's some amazing people in Irish football. There's some amazing Irish people, businessmen, you name it, around the country that want to get involved. Now we've gone from being the top sport to being the bottom sport. Yeah? Every other sport has taken over it. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yeah.
So when are we going to, like, come out of this, don't know what to say, is it a daydream or a type of nightmare that we've been actually living? And that's how much it means to me. Because even when I say it, I can feel that pain in my heart. Yeah?
I'm with you.
That's how much it actually means. And all the other stuff, you can dress it up. Whether you put this out in the podcast is another story. Yeah? But that's my truth, and that's how I actually see it. Because there's a whole other script that needs to be rewritten, one that needs to be torn up, and get behind the team and get behind the players and get behind the society, and let's start building each other up. Whether it's Joe Bloggs is the manager, whether Heimer Hilgramison, who I'm sure is a great man and a good coach, and all those different elements as well. Why don't we start supporting each other? We call ourselves supporters. Yeah? But all we do is moan and complain and give out and all those different things. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm with you. Because I always try to push that message, funnily enough. But I know, look...
But not enough players say it. Not enough players come on and speak openly and frankly and candidly about us. You look at UFC and where players come on, UFC fighters, and they speak their truth. And everyone goes, wow, that's amazing. I love how they actually can do that. You go into the world of football, all you get is cliches, game of two halves, certain type of conversation. It's all guarded. It's all safety language.
Yeah.
To keep everything in this false sense of security, because people are too fragile to actually hear the truth. Yeah. And I say that because I used to be one of them. Yeah.
You're just trained to be like that as a footballer.
Exactly. 100%.
As like media training, I mean.
Exactly. So what are we actually training?
Yeah, it's just the bat away questions, really.
Exactly. But what strength are we teaching in that? What strength are we training in that? There's so many different layers to this, right across the board. Yeah. But no one's really willing to step in and shake it up and actually going, well, what do we need to do? I hear people saying, oh, they're scarred by the past and putting out their comments about, throwaway comments. Scarred by what past? How far do you want to go back?
Yeah. Well, you're probably going back as far as like Roy and Saipan and further. Because obviously that one of the gripes was that it just wasn't good enough. But look, I know we're coming up to nearly 2.5 hours or probably more. So I'm gonna
footage anyhow.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of finish it up now. But like in terms of that work you're doing, Pathfinder, you've obviously released the book and stuff like that. If the FAI approached you to come back again, I'm not sure how you left or anything. You might have left with Stephen. I'm not 100% sure. But I know you were doing stuff kind of around the team.
I left the year before Stephen left, yeah.
Oh, okay. So on your own terms?
No, they wanted to get a sports nutritionist in.
Instead of
someone in the medical team, high up in the medical team, turned around and said, that's probably a mistake, David, because we should be feeding the mind, not feeding the body. And I said, you've been listening to me. He says, I have. Yeah, and that's the most important part, is understanding that the body, you eat food, yeah, but it's the philosophy that feeds the mind, yeah, and it's certain practices and certain disciplines that you actually do that feeds the self, that feeds the soul, yeah, and how you do those things and how you practice those things is a whole different other type of ball game, yeah. So I went in, did me a little piece. It was an amazing experience. Look, when Ireland calls, I'm there. I love my country.
So you go back?
I'm a proud Irishman. Yeah, I don't do bitter. Yeah, you do bitter, you do better. Which is it? You have a choice in it.
Because I think they really need it.
Life moves on.
I think the team really need a psychologist to work
whether
with.
it's me or whether it's somebody else.
Yeah, but I think it'd probably be better.
It's only going to benefit.
Yeah, but I think it'd probably be better if it's you, because you've obviously been a player. You know the atmosphere, you know the camp, like, you know half of the players. I think now at the moment you probably would have just played with Seamus and Robbie Brady. I think they were the final two probably from the time that you were there, because Jeff's not playing anymore.
Yeah.
So there is a couple, but I think Seamus will be gone after this year. I think, like in terms of winding down. But you've been in with them already, so a lot of them would know you already, and they would know you from playing as well. Yeah. So I think there's respect too.
We did some good work.
Yeah.
And my job was pure and simple was to help with mindset, and performance, and well-being, and all those things.
And did they any of them contact you now?
And that was evident on the pitch. It was evident on the pitch. Results and tactics. They're the manager's job.
Yeah, but do any of them get in contact with you now, or if they're struggling with anything?
I still speak to some people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, just before we let you go, where can people buy the book? What's your upcoming dates? Because I know you've got a book signing.
Yes, it's exclusive at the moment at Charlie Byrne's bookstore in Galway, and they're up for Bookshop of the Year, so I hope they win that. And they've been great towards me. And look, it's a bookshop I used to go to as a kid, and you get lost in there. It's like little Harry Potter's world in there. It's amazing. The Kindle, you can get it on Kindle on Amazon and stuff like that. So look, it's been a real. I haven't done the audio yet. It's been a real look. I've self-published, done that whole 9 yards, and trying to market and do the whole. It's been hardcore, but I've learned a lot in it, and it's been an amazing experience. And I've always said it, where look, I sold one book or 1 million books. It's been priceless. 100%. What I got from it. So yeah, but look, anyone that I've spoke to has thoroughly enjoyed the read. So I just appreciate you having me in today, and I enjoyed that actually.
Yeah, no, listen, we value your time, so thank you for that. And as you said earlier, thank you for your patience. So we did get through, I think we must have been about 2.5 hours, but honestly, it felt like a half an hour in my opinion.
It's 2.5 hours. Wow.
Yeah, look, I'm going to just say a little outro to the audience, but I want to thank you for coming in, giving up your time, and for the book as well. So I'm looking forward to giving that a read as well. So thank you for that. And our producer Finn got a copy as well, so he's very, very happy as well.
First day of the job.
That's it, yeah. First day producing, yeah.
First day producing, sorry.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes back as well. But yeah,
I was going to say you played a blinder, but wait till it comes out.
Yeah, I think he's alright. He's been giving me a couple of looks. So I think it was just for the time.
I give you some good constructive criticism.
Yeah, well, we'll watch it back. But yeah, guys, let us know what you thought in the comments on this video as well, and anything that we spoke about as well. Don't forget, we're going to leave a link in the description as well, so you can actually buy the book. We'll get it off Fordey himself, and we'll put it in there so you can buy it from there, and we'll put it out on our socials as well. Don't forget to follow, isn't it Dave Forde Pathfinder is your?
Yes, David Forde Pathfinder Coaching.ie.
Yeah, and that's your user.
Pathfinder on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking there.
Yeah, ones, yeah. It's usually LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm on.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will see you later. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Perfect. Great job, man. Thank you. We'll get a few photos. Yeah, it was pretty, honestly, for me,